In the glittering halls of Blackwood Manor, a gala hides a deadly secret. A driver's attacked, a ruby ring vanishes, and a chilling threat promises ruin. Hercule Poirot dives into a web of lies, debts, and betrayal, chasing cryptic notes, blood-stained, clues and shadows of a scandalous past. Was it the scheming lady, the desperate debtor, or a ghost seeking revenge? With time running out, Poirot must unravel the truth before the manor's secrets spill in blood. Chapter 1. The Invitation to Blackwood Manor. Hercule Poirot sat in his cozy London flat, sipping a cup of hot cocoa. The morning was chilly, and a soft rain tapped against the window. His mustache, perfectly trimmed, twitched as he read the morning paper. The news was dull, nothing to spark his sharp mind. He sighed, missing the thrill of a good mystery. Just as he turned the page, a knock came at the door. "Entree," Poirot called, his voice crisp with a French accent. His maid, Martha, poked her head in. "A letter for you, sir," she said, holding out a creamy envelope with a fancy wax seal. "Looks important." Poirot's eyes lit up. He took the envelope, noting the rich paper and the bold, swirling handwriting. The seal bore a crest, a lion holding a rose. "Merci, Martha," he said, waving her off. He broke the seal and pulled out a single sheet of paper, written in elegant ink. "Dear Monsieur Poirot," it began, "your fame as a detective has reached Blackwood Manor. I, Lord Reginald Hawthorne, humbly request your presence at a gala this weekend. My family and guests would be honored to meet you. There is also a matter of some delicacy that requires your unique skills. Enclosed is a train ticket to Blackwood Village, departing tomorrow at noon. I trust you will join us. Yours sincerely, R. Hawthorne." Poirot leaned back, stroking his mustache. A gala at Blackwood Manor? He knew of the Hawthorne family, rich, powerful, and part of England's elite. Their grand estate in the countryside was famous for its sprawling gardens and towering stone walls. But this matter of delicacy intrigued him most. It hinted at secrets, perhaps a crime. His heart beat faster. A puzzle was calling. He checked the envelope again. Inside was a first-class train ticket as promised, and a small card with the gala's details. Saturday evening, formal dress at Blackwood Manor. Poirot smiled. "A challenge for the little gray cells," he murmured. He rose, already planning his trip. The next day, Poirot stood on the platform at Paddington Station. His black suit was spotless, his hat tilted just so. A porter carried his small suitcase, and Poirot tipped him generously. The train to Blackwood Village was a sleek steam engine, puffing clouds of white smoke. Poirot boarded, settling into a plush seat by the window. The carriage was half empty, with only a few travelers, a young woman reading a book, an old man snoring, and a nervous-looking fellow in a tweed coat who kept glancing at Poirot. The train chugged through green fields and misty hills. Poirot watched the scenery, his mind buzzing. What was this delicate matter? A theft? A scandal? Or something darker? He thought of Lord Hawthorne, a man known for his wealth and charm, but also for his fierce pride. The Hawthornes had old money, tied to land and titles, but rumors swirled of debts and rivalries. Poirot's fingers tapped his knee. He loved a good riddle. At Blackwood Village, the train screeched to a stop. Poirot stepped onto a small, quiet platform. A chilly wind swept through, carrying the scent of pine. A man in a driver's uniform waited nearby, holding a sign that read Monsieur Poirot. He was tall, with a stern face and gray hair under his cap. "Monsieur Poirot?" the driver asked, his voice gruff. "Oui, that is me," Poirot replied, adjusting his coat. "I'm Jenkins, sir, Lord Hawthorne's driver. Car's this way." Poirot followed Jenkins to a shiny black Rolls-Royce parked outside the station. The drive to Blackwood Manor took them down narrow roads lined with ancient oaks. The estate loomed ahead, a massive stone building with tall windows and ivy crawling up its walls. Towers rose at each end, giving it a castle-like look. Poirot whistled softly. "Magnifique," he said. Jenkins grunted. "Big place, sir. Easy to get lost." They pulled up to the front gates, which creaked open. The car rolled down a gravel path, past fountains and rose gardens. Servants bustled about carrying trays and polishing silver. The gala was clearly a grand affair. Jenkins stopped at the main entrance where a butler in a crisp suit waited. "Welcome to Blackwood Manor, Monsieur Poirot," the butler said, bowing. "I am Grayson, head of staff. Lord Hawthorne is expecting you." Grayson led Poirot through a grand hall with marble floors and a glittering chandelier. Portraits of stern-faced Hawthorne stared down from the walls. Poirot's sharp eyes took in every detail: the polished banisters, the faint smell of lavender, the nervous glance Grayson shot toward a closed door. They reached a study where Lord Reginald Hawthorne stood by a roaring fireplace. He was a tall man, about 50, with silver hair and a sharp jaw. His suit was tailored, his smile warm but strained. "Monsieur Poirot," he said, striding forward. "What an honor." Poirot bowed. "The honor is mine, Lord Hawthorne. Your invitation was most intriguing." "Please sit," Hawthorne said, gesturing to a leather chair. "Brandy?" "Non, merci. A tisane, perhaps, if you have it." Hawthorne raised an eyebrow but nodded to Grayson, who left to fetch the drink. "You're a man of particular tastes," Hawthorne said, sitting across from Poirot. "I like that. It's why I called you here." Poirot tilted his head. "This matter of delicacy, oui?" Hawthorne's smile faded. He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "I trust your discretion, Poirot. What I'm about to tell you must stay between us." "Of course," Poirot said, his eyes gleaming. Hawthorne took a deep breath. "Tomorrow night I'm hosting a gala for some of England's most powerful people. Lords, ladies, businessmen, even a politician or two. It's a celebration of my daughter Clara's engagement to Sir Edward Vance, a fine young man, but—" He paused, his face darkening. "I've received a threat." Poirot's mustache twitched. "A threat?" "A letter," Hawthorne said, pulling a crumpled note from his pocket. He handed it to Poirot. The paper was plain, the words typed: "Your gala will end in ruin. Secrets will spill. Leave Blackwood Manor or pay the price." Poirot read it twice, his fingers tracing the words. "No signature," he noted. "When did this arrive?" "Yesterday morning," Hawthorne said. "Slipped under the front door. No one saw who left it." "And you suspect someone among your guests?" Poirot asked. Hawthorne nodded. "Or the staff. Or even family. I don't know who to trust. That's why I need you. Find out who sent this before the gala. I can't let my daughter's night be ruined." Poirot folded the note and tucked it into his pocket. "I will need to meet your guests, your family, your staff. Everyone." "Of course," Hawthorne said. "You'll have full access. Stay as our guest. The gala is tomorrow night, so time is short." Poirot stood, smoothing his suit. "Then I shall begin at once. Tell me, who is in the house now?" Hawthorne listed the key players. His wife, Lady Margaret, was a graceful woman with a sharp tongue. Their daughter, Clara, was sweet, but headstrong, eager to marry Sir Edward. Edward himself was charming, a rising star in London's business world. Then there was Hawthorne's brother Charles, a gambler with a shady past. A cousin, Beatrice, lived at the manor too, known for her love of gossip. Finally, there was a family friend, Dr. Lionel Hurst, a quiet man who seemed to know everyone's secrets. "And the staff?" Poirot asked. "Grayson, the butler, runs the house. Jenkins, the driver, you've met. There's also Mary, the housekeeper, and a few maids and cooks. All loyal, I think," Hawthorne said, but his voice wavered. Poirot nodded. "I will observe them all. Now show me to my room, if you please." Grayson returned with a steaming cup of tisane, and Poirot sipped it as they walked upstairs. His room was grand, with a four-poster bed and a view of the gardens. Left alone, Poirot unpacked his suitcase, placing his comb, mirror, and notebook on the dresser. He sat at a small desk, opened the notebook, and wrote, "Blackwood Manor. Threat. Gala, suspects, family, guest, staff. Motive? Unknown." He tapped his pen, thinking. The threat was vague but serious. Ruin could mean anything: Scandal, theft, even murder. He needed to meet the players, watch their faces, listen to their lies. People always lied, even if just a little. Poirot's job was to find the truth hidden in those lies. That evening, Poirot joined the family for dinner. The dining room was a sight to behold, with a long oak table, silver candlesticks, and plates of roast pheasant and creamy potatoes. Lord Hawthorne sat at the head, Lady Margaret at his side. Clara, a pretty girl with golden curls, laughed with Sir Edward, who had a boyish grin. Charles, the brother, slouched in his chair, sipping wine. Beatrice, the cousin, chattered about London gossip. Dr. Hurst ate quietly, his eyes darting around. Poirot sat near Clara, watching everyone. "Mademoiselle Clara," he said, "you must be excited for your gala." "Oh, yes," Clara said, her eyes sparkling. "It's going to be magical. Everyone who's anyone will be there." "Indeed," Poirot said. "And you, Sir Edward? You are pleased with this match?" Edward smiled, squeezing Clara's hand. "Couldn't be happier. Clara's the best thing that's ever happened to me." Lady Margaret coughed, her lips tight. "Let's hope the night goes smoothly," she said, her tone sharp. Charles snorted. "Smooth? With this crowd? Good luck." He downed his wine, ignoring Margaret's glare. Beatrice leaned toward Poirot. "You're that detective, aren't you? I bet you've seen some wild things." Poirot smiled politely. "I have seen many curiosities, mademoiselle." Dr. Hurst spoke up, his voice soft. "Curiosities can be dangerous, Monsieur Poirot. Some secrets are best left alone." The table went quiet. Poirot's eyes narrowed. Was that a warning? He filed it away, his mind racing. After dinner, Poirot strolled the manor's halls, his shoes clicking on the marble. Servants hurried past, carrying linens and trays. He stopped by a window, gazing at the moonlit gardens. A shadow moved near the rose bushes, a figure in a dark coat. Poirot squinted, but the figure vanished into the night. He returned to his room, locking the door. The threat letter lay on his desk. Its words burned into his mind. Someone in this house was hiding something. Tomorrow's gala would bring them all together, and Poirot would be watching. He smiled, his mustache curling. The game had begun. The next morning, Poirot woke early. He dressed in a fresh suit, his tie perfectly knotted. Breakfast was served in a sunny room with tall windows. Clara chatted about her dress, a flowing gown of blue silk. Edward teased her gently, while Charles grumbled about the early hour. Lady Margaret sipped tea, her eyes cold. Beatrice gossiped about a guest list that included a duke, a banker, and a famous actress. Dr. Hurst was absent, which Poirot noted. After breakfast, Poirot explored the manor. He wandered through the library where old books lined the walls. He peeked into the drawing room where maids dusted furniture. In the kitchen, the cook, a plump woman named Mrs. Potts, barked orders at her staff. Poirot asked her a few questions, but she was too busy to say much. Grayson, the butler, was more helpful, showing Poirot the ballroom where the gala would take place. It was massive, with gold-trimmed walls and a polished dance floor. "Everything ready for tonight?" Poirot asked. Grayson nodded. "Yes, sir. Been planning for weeks. Lord Hawthorne wants it perfect for Miss Clara." "And you, Grayson? You are content here?" The butler hesitated. "It's a good place, sir, but big houses have big secrets." Poirot raised an eyebrow. "Oh, what secrets?" Grayson looked away. "Just a figure of speech, sir." Poirot let it go, but his suspicions grew. He spent the afternoon meeting guests as they arrived. There was Lord Percival Drake, a loud man with a red face, and his wife, Lady Evelyn, who seemed bored. A banker, Mr. Victor Lang, arrived with a stern frown. An actress, Miss Sylvia Rose, swept in with a dramatic flair. Each guest was a piece of the puzzle, and Poirot studied them all. By evening, the manor buzzed with energy. Servants lit candles, and music drifted from the ballroom. Poirot stood in his room, adjusting his bow tie. He slipped the threat letter into his pocket, a reminder of his mission. The gala was about to start, and with it the chance to uncover the truth. He stepped into the hall where guests in fine suits and sparkling gowns gathered. Clara shone in her blue dress, Edward at her side. Lord Hawthorne greeted everyone with a wide smile, but his eyes were tense. Lady Margaret stood stiffly, her hands clenched. Charles drank heavily, Beatrice giggled, and Dr. Hurst watched from a corner. Poirot's heart raced. Somewhere in this crowd was the person who wrote the threat. He would find them no matter how clever they thought they were. The night was young and Hercule Poirot was ready. Chapter 2. A glittering gala. The ballroom of Blackwood Manor sparkled like a jewel box. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting golden light over the polished floor. Long tables lined the walls, covered with white cloths and piled high, with food, roast lamb, creamy soups, and tiny cakes dusted with sugar. A string quartet played soft music, their notes floating through the air. Guests in fine suits and shimmering gowns twirled across the dance floor, their laughter loud and bright. Hercule Poirot stood near a tall window, his sharp eyes scanning the crowd. Tonight he would hunt for clues. Poirot's black tuxedo was perfect, his bow tie straight as a ruler. He sipped a glass of sparkling water, his mustache twitching as he watched the guests. Lord Reginald Hawthorne stood at the center of the room, shaking hands and smiling. His wife, Lady Margaret, glided beside him, her red dress catching the light. Clara, the bride-to-be, danced with Sir Edward Vance, her blue gown swirling like a summer sky. Edward grinned, his charm lighting up the room. But Poirot noticed tension in the air, small glances, tight smiles, and whispers behind gloved hands. He pulled the crumpled threat letter from his pocket, glancing at its words. Your gala will end in ruin. Secrets will spill. Leave Blackwood Manor or pay the price. The words felt heavier now, surrounded by so many people. Who had written it? A guest? A servant? Someone in the Hawthorne family? Poirot tucked the letter away, his mind buzzing like a beehive. He moved through the crowd, his small steps quiet but sure. First he approached Clara and Edward, who had paused their dance to sip champagne. Mademoiselle Clara, Poirot said, bowing slightly. You look radiant tonight, Clara. Blushed, her curls bouncing. Thank you, Monsieur Poirot. Isn't it a wonderful party? Oui, most wonderful, Poirot said, his eyes flicking to Edward. And you, Sir Edward? You enjoy the evening? Edward's smile was easy, but his eyes darted to Clara. Best night of my life, he said, squeezing her hand. Clara makes it perfect. Poirot nodded, noting Edward's quick glance. Was it love or something else? A fine match, he said. Tell me, have you noticed anything unusual tonight? Clara frowned. Unusual? Like what? Oh, perhaps a guest acting strangely, Poirot said lightly. Or a conversation that seemed out of place. Edward laughed, but it sounded forced. Everyone's having fun, Poirot. No need to play detective tonight. Poirot smiled thinly. One is always a detective, monsieur. He bowed and moved on, his suspicions tingling. Next, he found Lord Hawthorne near a table of desserts. The Lord's smile was wide, but his hands fidgeted with a gold watch. Monsieur Poirot, Hawthorne said, enjoying the gala? It is splendid, Poirot replied. But I wonder, have you seen anything odd? A guest, perhaps, who seems out of sorts? Hawthorne's face tightened. Everyone's behaving, he said quickly. Just enjoy the night, Poirot. We'll talk business tomorrow. Poirot nodded, but his eyes narrowed. Hawthorne was hiding something, fear perhaps, or guilt. He made a mental note and drifted toward Lady Margaret, who stood alone by a pillar, her lips pressed tight. Lady Margaret, Poirot said, bowing. You have outdone yourself with this gala. She gave a cold smile. Thank you, Monsieur Poirot. It's for Clara, of course. She deserves the best. Of course, Poirot said. But such grand events, they can attract trouble, no? Have you noticed anything strange? Her eyes flicked to the crowd, then back to Poirot. Trouble, no. Everyone here is respectable. Her voice was sharp like a knife. Poirot tilted his head. Respectable people have secrets, madame. It is my job to find them. Lady Margaret's face paled, but she turned away without a word. Poirot watched her go, his mind spinning. She was nervous. Why? He moved to the edge of the ballroom where Charles Hawthorne, the lord's brother, leaned against a wall, a glass of wine in hand. His suit was rumpled, his face red from drinking. Monsieur Charles, Poirot said, approaching. You seem thoughtful tonight. Charles snorted. Thoughtful? Nah, just bored. Too many fancy types here. He waved his glass at the crowd. Poirot smiled. You do not enjoy the company of the elite? They're all liars, Charles said, his voice low. Smiling to your face, plotting behind your back. Watch yourself, detective. Poirot's eyebrows rose. A strong opinion. Have you seen anything to make you suspicious? Charles smirked. Plenty, but I ain't telling you nothing. Figure it out yourself. He drained his glass and stumbled off. Poirot frowned. Charles was rude, but his words held a spark of truth. Someone here was plotting. He scanned the room again, spotting Beatrice, the cousin, giggling with a group of ladies. Her dress was bright green, her voice loud. Poirot approached, bowing. Mademoiselle Beatrice, you are the life of the party. She laughed, fanning herself. Oh, Monsieur Poirot, you're too kind. Isn't this gala just divine? Indeed, Poirot said. But tell me, have you heard any whispers? Gossip about trouble brewing? Beatrice's eyes sparkled with mischief. Oh, there's always gossip. Did you know Lord Drake's business is failing? Or that Miss Sylvia Rose had a fight with her director? And don't get me started on Dr. Hurst, he's so quiet, it's creepy. Poirot leaned closer. And the Hawthorns? Any secrets there? Beatrice's smile faded. Well, Clara's engagement was awfully sudden, and Charles has been sneaking around at night. But don't quote me. She giggled and flounced away. Poirot's mind whirred. A sudden engagement? Charles sneaking around? He needed more. He spotted Dr. Lionel Hurst in a corner, sipping a drink, his eyes scanning the room like a hawk. Poirot approached. Dr. Hurst, a pleasure to see you. Hurst nodded, his face blank. Monsieur Poirot, enjoying the gala? Very much, Poirot said. You seem observant, Doctor. Have you noticed anything unusual? Hurst's eyes narrowed. People are people, Poirot. They smile, they dance, they hide things. Nothing new. Poirot pressed gently. And the threat to this gala? Lord Hawthorne mentioned it. Hurst froze, then shrugged. News to me. But if there's a threat, you'd better watch the shadows. He walked off, leaving Poirot puzzled. The music swelled, and couples filled the dance floor. Poirot stayed by the wall, watching. Lord Percival Drake, the loud noble, was arguing with his wife, Lady Evelyn, their voices low but angry. Mr. Victor Lang, the banker, stood alone, checking his watch. Miss Sylvia Rose, the actress, laughed too loudly, drawing eyes. Each person was a piece of the puzzle, but none fit yet. Poirot slipped out to the terrace for fresh air. The night was cool, the stars bright above the gardens. He heard a rustle in the bushes, the same spot where he'd seen a shadow last night. He stepped closer, his heart beating faster. Who is there? He called softly. No answer. He peered into the darkness, but the bushes were still. Then a faint crunch of gravel came from the path. Poirot turned, but no one was there. He frowned, his senses sharp. Someone was watching him. Back inside, the gala was in full swing. Poirot returned to the ballroom, his eyes darting to every face. He noticed Grayson, the butler, moving swiftly through the crowd, his face tense. Poirot followed, catching up near a side door. Grayson, he said. A moment, please. The butler stopped, his hands clasped. Yes, sir? You seem troubled, Poirot said. Is something wrong? Grayson hesitated. Just busy, sir. Big night. Poirot tilted his head. You know this house well. Have you seen anything odd? Someone where they shouldn't be? Grayson's eyes flicked to the floor. No, sir. Everything's fine. He hurried off, leaving Poirot unconvinced. The evening wore on, and Poirot kept watching. He danced briefly with Clara, who chattered about her wedding plans. He spoke with Lord Drake, who bragged about his wealth despite Beatrice's gossip, about his debts. Lady Evelyn complained about the food, her voice sharp. Mr. Lang muttered about business deals, his eyes cold. Miss Sylvia Rose flirted with every man, her laughter ringing out. As midnight approached, Lord Hawthorne raised a glass for a toast. "To Clara and Edward," he called. The crowd cheered, but Poirot noticed Lady Margaret's tight smile and Charles's scowl. Dr. Hurst clapped slowly, his face unreadable. Then, a scream pierced the air. The music stopped. Guests froze, their faces pale. The scream came from the hallway. Poirot was the first to move, his small frame darting through the crowd. He reached the hall where a maid stood trembling, pointing at a door. "In there," she gasped. "Something awful." Poirot pushed the door open. It led to a small parlor, dimly lit by a single lamp. On the floor lay a silver tray, its contents scattered, broken glasses, spilled wine, and in the corner, slumped against the wall, was a figure. Poirot knelt, his heart pounding. It was Jenkins, the driver, his face pale, his eyes closed. Oh, trickle of blood ran from his temple. Poirot checked for a pulse. Faint, but there. "He is alive," Poirot said, standing. "Fetch Dr. Hurst, quickly." The maid ran off. Guests crowded the doorway, gasping. Lord Hawthorne pushed through, his face white. "What happened?" he demanded. Poirot's eyes scanned the room. "An attack," he said. "Someone struck him. We must find who." Dr. Hurst arrived, kneeling beside Jenkins. "He's unconscious," Hurst said. "Head wound, not too deep. He'll live, but he needs rest." Poirot nodded, his mind racing. Why Jenkins? Was he the target or just in the wrong place? He turned to the maid. "What did you see?" She wrung her hands. "I was bringing drinks, sir. I heard a crash, then found him like this. I didn't see nobody." Poirot examined the room. The tray suggested Jenkins was carrying drinks when attacked. A heavy candlestick lay nearby, blood on its base. The weapon, no doubt. Poirot picked it up with a handkerchief, noting its weight. "Someone strong," he murmured. Lord Hawthorne ordered the guests back to the ballroom. "No need to panic," he said, his voice shaky. "Enjoy the night." But the mood had soured. Guests whispered, their eyes darting. Poirot stayed in the parlor, his mind working. The threat letter had promised ruin, and now Jenkins was hurt. Was this the start, or a warning? He returned to the ballroom, watching the crowd. Clara clung to Edward, her face pale. Lady Margaret whispered to Lord Hawthorne, her hands tight, on his arm. Charles drank alone, his eyes glassy. Beatrice gossiped with Miss Sylvia Rose, their voices hushed. Dr. Hurst cleaned his hands, calm but watchful. Poirot approached Grayson. "The candlestick," he said, holding it up. "It was in the parlor. Do you know it?" Grayson nodded. "From the dining room, sir. Someone must have taken it." "When did you last see Jenkins?" Poirot asked. "An hour ago," Grayson said. "He was fetching wine from the cellar." Poirot filed that away. He needed to talk to Jenkins when he woke. For now he watched the guests, his little gray cells buzzing. Someone here knew what happened. Someone had a secret worth hurting for. The gala continued, but the joy was gone. Poirot slipped back to the terrace, needing air. The gardens were dark, the bushes silent. He thought of the shadow he'd seen, the crunch of gravel. Was the attacker still out there? He returned to his room, locking the door. He opened his notebook, writing, "Jenkins attacked, candlestick weapon, motive unclear, suspects, all." He tapped his pen, thinking. The gala was not over, but the game had changed. Tomorrow he would dig deeper. For now he would watch, listen, and wait. Chapter 3. The Scream in the Night. The ballroom's sparkle had faded. The chandeliers still glowed, but the guests' faces were tight with worry. The attack on Jenkins, the driver, had cast a shadow over the gala at Blackwood Manor. Hercule. Poirot stood near the grand staircase, his sharp eyes scanning the crowd. His mustache twitched as he clutched the threat letter in his pocket. Your gala will end in ruin. Secrets will spill. Leave Blackwood Manor, or pay the price. The words echoed in his mind. Was Jenkins's attack the ruin promised, or just the beginning? Poirot's tuxedo was crisp, his bow tie perfect despite the late hour. The string quartet played a slow tune, but few danced now. Whispers buzzed like bees, guests talking about Jenkins, about danger, about secrets. Lord Reginald Hawthorne stood by the fireplace, his smile forced as he reassured guests. Lady Margaret hovered near him, her red dress stark against her pale face. Clara, the bride-to-be, sat with Sir Edward Vance, her eyes red from crying. Charles, the Lord's brother, slumped in a chair, a fresh glass of wine in hand. Beatrice, the cousin, whispered to Miss Sylvia Rose, the actress, their glances darting. Dr. Lionel Hurst, the family friend, stood alone, his calm face unreadable. Poirot moved quietly, his small steps blending into the crowd. He needed answers. Who had struck Jenkins with the candlestick? Why? And how did it tie to the threat? His little gray cells worked fast, piecing together the night's events. He decided to start with the staff. Servants often saw things others missed. He found Grayson, the butler, near the kitchen door, directing maids with trays of drinks. Grayson, Poirot said, his voice low. A word, if you please. Grayson's stern face softened. Of course, Monsieur Poirot, but it's a busy night. Busy, oui, and dangerous, Poirot said, holding up the candlestick still wrapped in his handkerchief. This was used to attack Jenkins. You said it came from the dining room. When did you last see it there? Grayson frowned, thinking. Before dinner, sir. I polished it myself. It was on the table at 7. And after dinner? Poirot pressed. Grayson hesitated. I didn't check. Things got hectic with the gala prep. Poirot nodded, his eyes sharp. And Jenkins? You said he was in the cellar an hour before the attack. Did he seem troubled? Grayson shifted. He was quiet, sir, more than usual. Kept looking over his shoulder like he was nervous. Poirot's mustache twitched. Nervous, you say? Did he mention why? No, sir, Grayson said. Just said he had to fetch wine and hurried off. Poirot thanked him and moved on, his mind buzzing. Jenkins was nervous before the attack. Had he seen something? Known something? Poirot needed to speak with him. But Dr. Hurst had said Jenkins was still unconscious, resting in a servant's room upstairs. Next, Poirot found Mary, the housekeeper, in the hallway, folding napkins. She was a stout woman with gray curls and a no-nonsense look. Madame Mary, Poirot said, bowing slightly. You run this house with great skill. Mary snorted. Flattery won't get you far, sir. What do you want? Poirot smiled. Information. You see much, no? Have you noticed anything odd tonight? A guest out of place, perhaps? Mary's eyes narrowed. Odd. This whole night's odd. Guests poking around where they shouldn't, servants whispering. And that attack on Jenkins. Scared. The maids half to death. Poking around? Poirot leaned closer. Who, madame? Mary glanced around, lowering her voice. That Charles Hawthorne, for one. Saw him near the library earlier, looking shifty. And Miss Sylvia Rose was in the East Wing where she had no business being. Poirot's eyebrows rose. The East Wing? What is there? Old rooms, mostly, Mary said. Storage, guest suites, the family's private study. Nobody goes there during a party. Poirot thanked her and jotted a note in his mind. Charles, in library. Sylvia in East Wing. He needed to check those places, but first he returned to the ballroom. The guests were restless, some heading to their rooms, others clustering in nervous groups. Poirot spotted Clara and Edward near the dessert table, her hand tight on his arm. Mademoiselle Clara, Poirot said, approaching. You are well? Clara's eyes were wide. Well, after what happened to Jenkins? I'm scared, Monsieur Poirot. What if someone else gets hurt? Edward pulled her close. Nobody's getting hurt, Clara. It was probably an accident. Poirot tilted his head. An accident, Sir Edward? A candlestick to the head is no accident. Edward flushed. I just mean, maybe Jenkins tripped, hit his head. Poirot's eyes narrowed. Tripped on a candlestick? Non, monsieur. Someone struck him. Do you know anything about it? Edward's jaw tightened. Of course not. I was dancing with Clara all night. Clara nodded quickly. It's true. We were together. Poirot smiled politely. Of course, but if you hear anything, you will tell me, oui? They nodded and Poirot moved on, unconvinced. Edward's quick defense felt rehearsed. Was he protecting Clara or himself? Poirot found Beatrice next, fanning herself near the quartet. Mademoiselle Beatrice, he said, you have a gift for noticing things. Tell me, what have you seen tonight? Beatrice's eyes lit up. Oh, Monsieur Poirot, it's been wild. Lord Drake was arguing with Mr. Lang about money, something about a bad deal, and Lady Evelyn was glaring at Sylvia Rose all night. Jealous, maybe? Sylvia's been flirting with everyone, especially Edward. Poirot's ears pricked. Flirting with Sir Edward? Interesting. And what of Charles Hawthorne? Beatrice leaned in, whispering. He's been drinking like a fish. I saw him slip out to the gardens earlier, looking sneaky. Bet he's up to no good. Poirot thanked her, his mind spinning. Charles in the gardens, Sylvia in the East Wing, Edward and Sylvia flirting. Every clue added to the puzzle. He decided to check the library, where Mary had seen Charles. The room was down a quiet hall, its heavy door ajar. Poirot slipped inside, his shoes silent on the thick carpet. The library was vast, with tall shelves stuffed with leather-bound books. A single lamp glowed on a desk, casting shadows. Poirot's eyes scanned the room, a fireplace, armchairs, a window overlooking the gardens. He noticed a book on the floor, its pages bent. He picked it up, a history of the Hawthorne family. A slip of paper fell out, covered in scribbled numbers. A code? A debt? Poirot tucked it into his pocket, his heart racing. A creak came from the hall. Poirot froze, listening. Footsteps, soft but quick, moved away. He hurried to the door, but the hall was empty. Someone had been watching. He locked the library door and searched further, finding nothing else out of place. But the paper in his pocket felt heavy with secrets. Back in the ballroom, the crowd had thinned. It was past midnight, and many guests had retired. Poirot decided to check the East Wing, where Mary had seen Sylvia Rose. He climbed a narrow staircase, his hand on the banister. The East Wing was dim with dusty portraits lining the walls. He passed locked doors, storage rooms, Mary had said, and a private study. One door was slightly open, light spilling out. Poirot peered inside. It was a small study with a desk, bookshelves, and a safe in the corner. Papers were scattered on the desk, as if someone had rifled through them. Poirot stepped closer, his eyes catching a letter with the Hawthorne crest. It was addressed to Lord Hawthorne, marked private. Before he could read it, a scream tore through the night. It came from downstairs, sharp and terrified. Poirot ran, his small frame moving fast. He reached the main hall where guests and servants gathered, their faces pale. Clara stood at the center, trembling, pointing to the terrace doors. "Out there!" she cried. "I saw someone!" Poirot pushed through the crowd, stepping onto the terrace. The night was cold, the gardens dark. He saw nothing at first. Then, a glint near the rose bushes, the same spot where he'd seen a shadow before. He hurried forward, his shoes crunching on gravel. There, half hidden in the bushes, was a glove, black leather, expensive. Poirot picked it up with his handkerchief, noting a faint stain. Blood or wine? He returned to the hall where Lord Hawthorne was calming Clara. "What did you see, mademoiselle?" Poirot asked. Clara's voice shook. "A man, or woman, I don't know, in a dark coat running into the gardens. I was by the window and I screamed when I saw them." Edward held her tight. "It's all right, Clara, probably just a servant." Poirot held up the glove. "This is no servant's glove. It is fine leather, costly. Does anyone recognize it?" The crowd murmured, but no one claimed it. Poirot's eyes scanned their faces. Lord Hawthorne's frown, Lady Margaret's clenched hands, Charles's glassy stare, Beatrice's wide eyes, Dr. Hurst's calm gaze. Someone was lying. Poirot turned to Grayson. "Take me to Jenkins. I must speak with him." Grayson led him upstairs to a small room where Jenkins lay on a cot, his head bandaged. Dr. Hurst was there, checking his pulse. "He's waking," Hurst said, "but he's groggy." Poirot sat beside Jenkins. "Monsieur Jenkins, can you hear me? It is Hercule Poirot. Who struck you?" Jenkins' eyes fluttered open, his voice weak. "Didn't see. Dark. Heard a voice. Whispering. Then pain." "A voice?" Poirot leaned closer. "Man or woman? What did it say?" Jenkins groaned. "Couldn't tell. Said something. About secrets, then the hit." His eyes closed and he drifted off. Poirot stood, his mind racing. A whispering voice, secrets, a candlestick, a glove. The pieces were piling up, but the picture was blurry. He thanked Hurst and returned to the hall, where the guests were dispersing. Lord Hawthorne approached, his face grim. "Any progress?" "Poirot?" "Some," Poirot said. "But the night is not over. I will need a list of all guests and staff and access to the East Wing study." Hawthorne nodded. "Anything you need. Just keep this quiet. I don't want to panic." Poirot agreed, but his thoughts were elsewhere. The glove, the paper from the library, the scattered papers in the study. They all pointed to a secret someone wanted hidden. He retired to his room, locking the door. He spread his clues on the desk. The threat letter, the scribbled paper, the glove. He opened his notebook, writing. Jenkins attacked. Glove in garden. Papers in study. Charles, Sylvia. Others suspect. Motive. Secrets. The clock struck 2. The manor was quiet, but Poirot felt the weight of unseen eyes. Someone was out there, plotting. He would not sleep tonight. Instead, he sat, thinking, his little gray cells working. The scream in the night had changed everything. Tomorrow he would dig deeper, question harder, and watch closer. The truth was close. He could feel it. Chapter 4. Poirot's arrival. The morning sun filtered through the heavy curtains of Blackwood Manor, casting pale light across Hercule Poirot's room. He sat at a small desk, his notebook open, his pen tapping rhythmically. The events of last night, the attack on Jenkins, the scream in the garden, the mysterious glove, swirled in his mind like leaves in a storm. His mustache twitched as he reviewed his clues. The threat letter promising ruin, the scribbled paper from the library, the blood-stained glove, and the scattered papers in the East Wing study. Someone in this grand house was hiding a dangerous secret, and Poirot was determined to find it. He dressed carefully, his black suit pressed, his tie knotted perfectly. The gala was over, but the mystery was just beginning. He slipped the threat letter into his pocket, its words burned into his memory. Your gala will end in ruin. Secrets will spill. Leave Blackwood Manor, or pay the price. Jenkins' attack was no accident. It was a warning, perhaps the first step toward the promised ruin. Poirot's little gray cells buzzed with questions. Who had struck the driver? Why? And what did Clara see in the garden? A knock at the door broke his thoughts. "Entrez," Poirot called. Grayson, the butler, stepped in, his face as stern as ever. "Breakfast is served, Monsieur Poirot. Lord Hawthorne asks that you join the family." "Merci, Grayson," Poirot said, standing. "And Jenkins? How is he?" "Awake, sir," Grayson replied. "Dr. Hurst is with him. He's weak, but talking." Poirot's eyes gleamed. "Good. I will speak with him soon. Lead on." The dining room was quieter than the night before. The long oak table held plates of eggs, toast, and sausages, but the mood was heavy. Lord Reginald Hawthorne sat at the head, his silver hair neat, but his eyes tired. Lady Margaret sipped tea, her face pale. Clara, still in a simple morning dress, picked at her food, her golden curls limp. Sir Edward Vance, her fiancé, sat close, his hand on hers. Charles Hawthorne, the Lord's brother, nursed a coffee, his face red from last night's wine. Beatrice, the cousin, chattered softly to herself while Dr. Lionel Hurst was absent, likely tending to Jenkins. Poirot took a seat, nodding politely. Bon matin, he said. I trust you all slept well? Clara shivered. Hardly, Monsieur Poirot. After last night, that scream. Edward squeezed her hand. It's over, Clara, just a scare. Poirot's eyebrows rose. A scare, Sir Edward? A man was attacked. A scream pierced the night. These are not small things. Lord Hawthorne cleared his throat. Poirot, we're all shaken, but let's not alarm the guests further. Have you learned anything? Poirot sipped his tea, his eyes scanning the table. Some things, but I need more. I will speak with Jenkins today, and I must see the East Wing study. Also, a list of all guests and staff, as I requested. Hawthorne nodded. Grayson has the list. The study is open to you, just be discreet. Lady Margaret's cup clinked sharply on its saucer. Discreet? This is our home, Reginald. Why is a detective poking around? Poirot smiled thinly. Because, madame, someone wishes harm to this house. I am here to stop it. Charles snorted. Good luck, detective. This place is full of snakes. Beatrice gasped. Charles, that's awful. It's true, Charles muttered, gulping his coffee. Poirot watched them all, noting Lady Margaret's anger, Charles's bitterness, Clara's fear, Edward's quick comfort. Each face held a clue, but none told the whole story. After breakfast, he followed Grayson to a small office where the butler handed him a typed list of names, 20 guests and 15 staff. Poirot scanned it. Lord Percival Drake, Lady Evelyn, Mr. Victor Lang, Miss Sylvia Rose, and others from the gala, plus servants like Mary, the housekeeper, and Mrs. Potts, the cook. Merci, Grayson, Poirot said. Now, take me to Jenkins. They climbed to the servants' quarters, a narrow hall with plain doors. Jenkins lay in a small room, his head bandaged, his face pale but awake. Dr. Hurst stood nearby, packing his medical bag. He's stable, Hurst said, but no sudden moves. Poirot sat beside Jenkins. Monsieur Jenkins, it is Hercule Poirot. Can you tell me what happened last night? Jenkins' voice was hoarse. I was in the cellar, fetching wine. Heard footsteps behind me. Thought it was a servant, but, they whispered, said, keep quiet or you're done. Then, bang, something hit my head. Woke up here. Poirot leaned closer. The voice, man or woman? Jenkins frowned. Hard to say, low, like they were hiding it. And where were you when this happened? Poirot asked. Near the parlor, sir. I was bringing the wine up for the gala. Poirot nodded, his mind racing. The parlor was where Jenkins was found, the candlestick nearby. Did you see anything before the attack? A face, a shadow? Jenkins shook his head, wincing. Just a dark coat, maybe. It was quick. Poirot thanked him and stood. Rest, monsieur. I will find who did this. Outside, Poirot turned to Hurst. Doctor, you were at the gala. Did you see Jenkins before the attack? Hurst's eyes were steady. No. I was in the ballroom, with the guests. Poirot nodded, unconvinced. Hurst's calm was too perfect, like a mask. He thanked him and headed to the East Wing study, where Mary had seen Sylvia Rose. The door was still ajar, the room unchanged, papers scattered on the desk, the safe closed, the Hawthorne crest letter untouched. Poirot read it carefully. It was from a lawyer mentioning a family matter and a disputed asset. Vague but intriguing. He noted the safe, locked with no sign of tampering. What was inside? He searched the desk, finding nothing new, but under a chair he spotted a small earring. Pearl, delicate. A woman's, perhaps Sylvia's. He pocketed it, adding it to his clues. The threat letter, the scribbled paper, the glove, and now the earring. Downstairs, the manor buzzed with gossip. Guests lingered in the drawing room, whispering about Jenkins. Poirot joined them, his ears sharp. Lord Drake was loud, complaining about the shoddy security. Lady Evelyn rolled her eyes, sipping sherry. Mr. Lang, the banker, checked his watch, muttering about a train. Sylvia Rose laughed with a young lord, her red dress bright. Poirot approached Sylvia. Mademoiselle Rose, a word? She turned, her smile dazzling. Monsieur Poirot, what a thrill to meet a real detective. You flatter me, Poirot said. Tell me, were you in the East Wing last night? Sylvia's smile faltered. East Wing? Why, no. I was dancing all night. Poirot held up the earring. This was found there. Is it yours? She touched her ear, then laughed. Oh, that? I lost it days ago. Must have dropped it somewhere. Poirot's eyes narrowed. Days ago? Yet it was in the study where you were seen. Sylvia flushed. Seen? By who? I wasn't there. Poirot let it go, but her quick denial was suspicious. He moved to Lord Drake, who was arguing with Lang. Gentlemen, Poirot said, a moment. Did either of you see Jenkins before his attack? Drake snorted. The driver? No. Too busy enjoying myself. Lang's voice was cold. I don't notice servants, Poirot. I was discussing business. Poirot nodded, filing their answers away. He found Beatrice next, her green dress bright in the morning light. Mademoiselle, you saw Charles in the gardens last night. When exactly? Beatrice's eyes widened. Oh, around 10, I think. He was near the roses, looking sneaky. Why? Poirot smiled. Just curious. And Sylvia Rose, did you see her leave the ballroom? Beatrice nodded. Yes, she slipped out after 9. Said she needed air, but she went toward the East Wing. Poirot thanked her, his mind spinning. Sylvia was lying. Charles was sneaking. The glove, the earring, the papers, all pointed to a web of secrets. He decided to check the gardens where Clara had seen the figure. The rose bushes were thick, the gravel path scuffed. He found no new clues, but the spot felt heavy, like it held a secret. Back inside, he sought Charles, finding him in the library, a bottle of whiskey in hand. Monsieur Charles, Poirot said, you were in the gardens last night. Why? Charles glared. What's it to you? I wanted air. Poirot held up the glove. This was found there. Yours? Charles laughed. That fancy thing? No, I don't wear gloves. Poirot pressed. And the library? You were seen here looking shifty. Charles's face darkened. Who's been talking? I was just reading. Poirot showed him the scribbled paper. This fell from a book. You're writing? Charles paled. Never seen it. You're barking up the wrong tree, detective. Poirot let him go, but his suspicions grew. Charles was hiding something. Debts, perhaps, or worse. He returned to his room, spreading his clues on the desk. The letter, the paper, the glove, the earring. He wrote in his notebook. Jenkins attacked, whispered about secrets. Sylvia in East Wing, lies about earring. Charles in gardens, library. Study papers mention family matter. Safe unopened. Motive, hidden. The day passed with more questions than answers. Poirot interviewed maids who saw nothing, and Mrs. Potts, the cook, who grumbled about extra work. He watched the guests, noting their glances and whispers. Lady Margaret avoided him, her eyes cold. Edward stayed close to Clara, too close. Dr. Hurst was always nearby, his calm unsettling. As evening fell, Poirot sat in the drawing room, sipping tisane. The manor felt alive, its walls hiding truths. He thought of the scream, the glove, the shadow. Someone was moving in the dark, planning the next strike. He would be ready. Tomorrow he would push harder, dig deeper, and find the truth. For now, he watched, his little gray cells working, waiting for the next clue to fall. Chapter 5. The Curious Guest List. The morning light crept through the tall windows of Blackwood Manor, painting the oak-paneled halls in soft gold. Hercule Poirot sat in his room, his notebook open, his pen scratching notes. The threat letter lay on the desk, its words a constant whisper in his mind. Your gala will end in ruin. Secrets will spill. Leave Blackwood Manor or pay the price. Jenkins's attack, Clara's scream, the blood-stained glove, the pearl earring, and the scribbled paper from the library, all were pieces of a puzzle that grew more tangled by the hour. Poirot's mustache twitched as he studied the guest list Grayson had given him. A neatly typed sheet naming 20 guests and 15 staff. Each name was a suspect, each a potential key to the mystery. Poirot's suit was crisp, his shoes polished, to a shine. He sipped a cup of hot tisane, his eyes sharp as he reviewed his clues. Jenkins had heard a whispered voice before the candlestick struck, mentioning secrets. Sylvia Rose lied about being in the East Wing, where the earring was found. Charles Hawthorne was sneaking in the gardens and library, denying the scribbled paper. The East Wing study held a letter about a family matter and a locked safe. And Clara's glimpse of a figure in a dark coat matched the shadow Poirot had seen. Someone in this house was plotting, and the guest list would help him find them. He tucked the list into his pocket and headed downstairs. The manor was quieter today, the gala's glitter replaced by a tense hush. Guests lingered in the drawing room, their voices low. Servants moved quickly, their eyes darting. Poirot felt the weight of unseen secrets like a storm waiting to break. In the dining room, breakfast was simple: toast, eggs, and tea. Lord Reginald Hawthorne sat at the head, his face drawn. Lady Margaret stirred her tea, her lips tight. Clara and Sir Edward Vance sat close, her hand in his. Charles slumped in his chair, nursing a headache. Beatrice chattered about the weather, her voice too bright. Dr. Lionel Hurst was there, his calm face watching everyone. Poirot took a seat, nodding politely. Bon matin, he said. A fine day to clear the air, no? Clara's eyes widened. Clear the air? You mean about Jenkins? Edward squeezed her hand. Let's not dwell, Clara. Monsieur Poirot will handle it. Poirot's eyes flicked to Edward. Indeed I will, Sir Edward, but I need help. The guest list. Some names intrigue me. Lord Percival Drake, for example. He argued with Mr. Lang last night, oui? Lord Hawthorne frowned. Drake? He's a loudmouth, but harmless. Why? Poirot smiled. Just curious. And Miss Sylvia Rose? She is lively. Any history with the family? Lady Margaret's spoon clinked. Sylvia? She's a friend of Clara's. A bit dramatic, but no trouble. Clara nodded quickly. She's fun, Monsieur Poirot, always full of stories. Poirot's mustache twitched. Fun, perhaps, but also a liar. He let it go, turning to Charles. Monsieur Charles, you were in the gardens last night. Did you see anyone else there? Charles glared. I told you I wanted air, nobody else was out there. Beatrice giggled. Oh, Charles, you were sneaking around. I saw you by the roses. Charles' face reddened. Mind your own business, Beatrice. Poirot noted the exchange, his mind buzzing. He excused himself and sought Grayson, finding him in the hall polishing silver. Grayson, Poirot said, this guest list, tell me about Lord Drake and Mr. Lang. Any tensions? Grayson's hands paused. Lord Drake's always loud, sir. Likes to brag about his wealth, but there's talk he's in debt. Mr. Lang's a banker, cold as ice. They were arguing last night about some investment gone bad. Poirot nodded. And Miss Sylvia Rose? She knows the family well? Grayson hesitated. She's been here before, sir. Close to Miss Clara, but she asks a lot of questions. Nosy-like. Poirot thanked him and moved to the drawing room, where guests gathered. Lord Percival Drake stood by the fireplace, his red face loud as he complained about the coffee. Lady Evelyn, his wife, sat nearby, her eyes bored. Mr. Victor Lang checked his watch, his face stern. Sylvia Rose laughed with a young lord, her red dress bright. Poirot approached Drake first. Lord Drake, a fine morning, no? You enjoyed the gala? Drake snorted. Till that nonsense with the driver. Shoddy place, this manor. No security. Poirot tilted his head. You argued with Mr. Lang last night. About business, perhaps? Drake's eyes narrowed. Who told you that? Lang's a cheat, that's all. Lost me a fortune. Poirot nodded, turning to Lang, who stood nearby. Monsieur, Lang, you heard that. Care to explain? Lang's voice was cold. Drake's a fool with money. I warned him, but he didn't listen, not my fault. Poirot smiled thinly. Of course. And last night, where were you when Jenkins was attacked? Lang frowned. In the ballroom, talking business. Ask anyone. Poirot moved to Sylvia, who was adjusting her earrings, pearls like the one he'd found. Mademoiselle Rose, he said. You were in the East Wing last night, no? Sylvia's smile froze. I told you I wasn't there. I was dancing. Poirot held up the earring. This was in the study. Yours? She touched her ear, then laughed. I said I lost it days ago, could have ended up anywhere. Poirot's eyes narrowed. Yet it was in a room you claim not to have visited. Curious. Sylvia flushed but said nothing. Poirot let her go, his suspicions growing. He decided to revisit the East Wing study, hoping for more clues. The room was as he'd left it. Papers scattered, the safe locked, the Hawthorne crest letter on the desk. He read it again. A disputed asset, and a family matter. No details, but it hinted at trouble. He tried the safe, but it wouldn't budge. What was inside? He searched the room, finding a small key under a rug. Brass, ornate. It didn't fit the safe, but it might open something else. He pocketed it, adding it to his clues. The letter, the scribbled paper, the glove, the earring, and now the key. Downstairs, he sought Mary, the housekeeper, finding her in the kitchen with Mrs. Potts. Madame Mary, Poirot said, this key. Do you know what it opens? Mary squinted at it. Looks like one for the old guest suite, sir. In the East Wing, locked for years. Poirot's heart quickened. Show me, please. Mary led him to a dusty hall in the East Wing, where a row of doors stood locked. He fit the third one, revealing a small room with a bed, a dresser, and a locked trunk. Poirot opened the trunk, finding old letters, photos, and a journal. The letters were from Charles to a man named V, mentioning debts and a deal to save the family. The journal was Clara's from years ago, filled with dreams of travel and vague mentions of a family secret. Poirot tucked the journal under his arm, his mind racing. Charles's debts, Clara's secret, what did it mean? He returned to the drawing room where Clara sat alone, her face pale. Mademoiselle Clara, he said, this journal, is it yours? Clara gasped. Where did you find that? It's private. In an old room, Poirot said. It speaks of a family secret. Care to share? Clara's eyes filled with tears. It's nothing, just silly thoughts. Please don't tell anyone. Poirot nodded, but his suspicions deepened. He sought Charles next, finding him in the garden smoking a cigar. Monsieur Charles, Poirot said, these letters mention debts to a V. Who is he? Charles paled, dropping his cigar. You've been snooping, eh? None of your business. Poirot held up the scribbled paper. This is your writing, no? Numbers. Debts, perhaps. Charles snatched the paper, tearing it. Leave me alone, detective. Poirot watched him storm off, his mind whirring. Charles was in trouble, but was he the attacker? He returned to Jenkins's room, hoping for more. Jenkins was sitting up, sipping water. Monsieur Jenkins, Poirot said. The voice you heard, did it mention a name? V, perhaps. Jenkins frowned. Maybe. Sounds familiar. But it was so quick. Poirot thanked him and headed to the library, where he found Dr. Hurst reading. Doctor, Poirot said, you know this family well. A man named V. Does it mean anything? Hurst's eyes flicked up. V? Could be anyone. Victor Lang, perhaps. Why? Poirot shrugged. Just a thought. And last night, where were you when Clara screamed? Hurst's face stayed calm. In the ballroom, checking on guests, I heard the scream and ran. Poirot nodded, unconvinced. Hurst's calm was a mask, hiding something. He spent the afternoon questioning guests. Lord Drake admitted to debts but denied violence. Lady Evelyn complained about Sylvia's flirting. Lang insisted he was in the ballroom. Sylvia stuck to her story, her eyes nervous. As evening fell, Poirot sat in his room, his clues spread out. The letter, the glove, the earring, the key, the journal, Charles's letters. He wrote in his notebook, Jenkins attacked, heard V. Charles's debts to V, Victor Lang. Sylvia lies about East Wing. Clara's journal mentions secret, safe still locked. Motive, family trouble. The manor grew quiet, but Poirot felt eyes watching. The guest list was a map, each name a path to the truth. Tomorrow he would open the safe, confront Sylvia, and press Charles. The secrets of Blackwood Manor were close to spilling, and Hercule Poirot would not rest until they did. Chapter 6. Whispers of Secrets. The afternoon sun hung low over Blackwood Manor, casting long shadows across the sprawling gardens. Hercule Poirot stood by his room's window, his sharp eyes tracing the paths below where Clara had seen a figure and where he'd found the blood-stained glove. His notebook lay open on the desk, filled with neat handwriting. The threat letters warning of ruin, Jenkins's whispered voice mentioning secrets, the pearl earring in the East Wing study, Charles' scribbled paper and debt-ridden, letters to V, Clara's journal hinting at a family secret, and the brass key that opened an old guest room. The guest list, now crumpled from constant study, named suspects, guests, family, staff, all hiding something. Poirot's mustache twitched as he felt the weight of whispers, secrets swirling through the manor like a fog. He adjusted his tie, his black suit spotless, and sipped a fresh cup of tisane. The attack on Jenkins was no random act. It tied to the threat letter, to the figure in the dark, to the papers in the study. Someone was desperate to keep a secret, and Poirot was close to uncovering it. Today he would push harder. Open the safe, confront Sylvia about her lie, and press Charles about V. The whispers of secrets were growing louder, and he would follow them to the truth. Poirot tucked the guest list and clues into his pocket and headed downstairs. The manor was tense, its grand halls quiet but heavy with unease. Guests lingered in the drawing room, their voices low, while servants scurried, avoiding eye contact. Poirot felt eyes on him, as if the walls themselves were watching. In the dining room, lunch was served, cold meats, bread, and fruit. Lord Reginald Hawthorne sat at the head, his smile thin. Lady Margaret picked at her plate, her eyes cold. Clara and Sir Edward Vance sat close, her face pale, his hand protective. Charles sipped whiskey, ignoring the food. Beatrice chattered, about a new dress, her voice forced. Dr. Lionel Hurst ate quietly, his calm gaze unsettling. Poirot took a seat, nodding. Bon après-midi, he said. The manor is quiet today, non? Clara shivered. Too quiet. After Jenkins. And that... Scream! Edward patted her hand. It's fine, Clara. Monsieur Poirot's here to sort it out. Poirot's eyes flicked to Edward. Oui, and I will. But secrets linger, Sir Edward. Whispers in the dark, no? Have you heard any? Edward's smile faltered. Whispers? Just gossip, nothing serious. Poirot tilted his head. Gossip can hide truth, for example, whispers of debts, Lord Drake's perhaps, or others. His eyes slid to Charles. Charles choked on his whiskey. What's that supposed to mean? Poirot smiled. Only that secrets are like shadows, they follow us. Do you know a man called V? Charles's face reddened. Never heard of him. Stop fishing, detective. Lady Margaret's fork clinked. Enough, Poirot. You're upsetting everyone. Poirot bowed slightly. My apologies, madame. But the truth is often upsetting. After lunch, Poirot sought Grayson, finding him in the hall polishing a vase. Grayson, he said, the safe in the East Wing study. Do you know its combination? Grayson shook his head. No, sir. Only Lord Hawthorne and maybe Lady Margaret know it. Poirot nodded. And the guest suites in the East Wing, why are they locked? Grayson hesitated. Old family stuff, sir. Nobody uses them. Too dusty. Too many memories. Poirot thanked him and headed to the East Wing. The study was unchanged, papers scattered, the safe locked, the Hawthorne crest letter hinting at a disputed asset. He tried the brass key, but it didn't fit. He examined the papers again, finding a note tucked under a blotter. Meet me at midnight, Rose Garden, V. Poirot's heart quickened. Was V Victor Lang, the banker, or someone else? He left the study and tried the key and other East Wing doors, finding another guest room. Inside was a dusty wardrobe, a mirror, and a locked box under the bed. The key opened it, revealing a bundle of letters tied with string. They were old, from a woman named Eleanor to Reginald, full of love and promises but ending with a bitter note. You betrayed me. The truth will out. Poirot's eyes widened. Was Eleanor a past lover of Lord Hawthorne? A secret tied to the family matter? He tucked the letters into his coat and sought Lord Hawthorne, finding him in his study, staring at a portrait of a stern man, his father perhaps. Lord Hawthorne, Poirot said. This safe in the East Wing. Who knows? Its combination? Hawthorne frowned. Just me and Margaret. Why? Poirot held up the note. This was in the study, a meeting with V in the Rose Garden. Who is V? Hawthorne paled. I don't know. Probably nothing. Poirot's eyes narrowed. Nothing? A man is attacked, a figure runs in the night, and you say nothing? I must see inside that safe. Hawthorne sighed. Fine, but not now. Tonight, after dinner. I need time. Poirot agreed, sensing Hawthorne's fear. He next sought Sylvia Rose, finding her in the drawing room, laughing with a guest. Mademoiselle? Rose, he said. A moment. Sylvia's smile was bright but nervous. Of course, Monsieur Poirot. Poirot held up the pearl earring. You say you lost this days ago, yet it was in the East Wing study, and you were seen there. Why lie? Sylvia's face flushed. I was looking for Clara's journal. She asked me to find it. Poirot tilted his head. Clara? She said nothing of this. Sylvia bit her lip. It was private. She didn't want anyone to know. Poirot let it go, but her story felt thin. He found Clara in the garden, sitting on a bench, her eyes distant. Mademoiselle Clara, he said, did you ask Sylvia to find your journal? Clara blinked. No. Why would she say that? Poirot showed her the journal. This was in an East Wing room. You wrote of a family secret. What is it? Clara's eyes filled with tears. It's nothing, just childish dreams. Please don't ask. Poirot nodded, but his suspicions grew. Clara was hiding something, like Sylvia, like Charles. He sought Charles next, finding him in the library, a bottle in hand. Monsieur Charles, Poirot said, these letters mention debts to V. Victor Lang, perhaps. Charles laughed bitterly. Lang? That snake? Maybe. But I'm not saying more. Poirot held up the torn, scribbled paper. Your debts, oui? Are they why you sneak in the gardens? Charles stood, swaying. Leave me alone, detective. You're in over your head. Poirot watched him go, his mind racing. Charles's debts, Sylvia's lies, Clara's secret, the note to V. All pointed to a deeper truth. He returned to the rose garden, searching for more clues. The gravel was scuffed, but he found a cigarette butt, half buried. Charles smoked. Cigars, not cigarettes. Who then? Dinner was tense, the dining room lit by candles. Guests whispered about Jenkins, about the scream. Poirot watched. Lady Margaret's tight smile, Edward's quick glances, Dr. Hurst's calm stare. After dinner, Hawthorne led Poirot to the East Wing study. He spun the safe's dial and it clicked open. Inside were papers, a small box, and a velvet pouch. The papers were legal documents. A will, naming Clara as heir to a hidden trust. The box held a gold locket with a photo of a woman, Eleanor perhaps. The pouch held a ruby ring sparkling in the light. Hawthorne's voice shook. "These are private, family matters." Poirot's eyes gleamed. "A will, a locket, a ring. Secrets worth attacking for, no?" Hawthorne closed the safe. "I trust you'll keep this quiet, Poirot." Poirot nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. The will favored Clara, but who else knew? He returned to his room, spreading his clues. The threat letter, the glove, the earring, the key, the journal, Charles' letters, the note to V, the cigarette butt, the safe's contents. He wrote, "Safe holds will, locket, ring, Clara's. Inheritance. Eleanor's letters, betrayal. V meeting in garden. Sylvia lies. Charles hides debts. Motive, money, love, revenge." As midnight neared, Poirot slipped to the rose garden, hoping to catch V. The night was cold, the bushes still. He waited, hidden by a tree. Footsteps crunched, soft, careful. A figure in a dark coat appeared, face hidden. Poirot stepped forward, but the figure ran, vanishing into the shadows. Poirot gave chase but found only a dropped handkerchief embroidered with L. He returned to his room, adding the handkerchief to his clues. The whispers of secrets were growing louder. Eleanor's betrayal, Clara's inheritance, Charles' debts, Sylvia's lies, V and L. Someone was desperate to keep the truth buried, but Hercule Poirot would dig it up, piece by piece, until the manor's secrets spilled into the light. Chapter 7. The Locked Room. Mystery. The morning mist clung to the gardens of Blackwood Manor, wrapping the stone walls in a ghostly veil. Hercule Poirot stood at his window, his sharp eyes fixed on the rose bushes where he'd chased a figure last night, finding only a handkerchief marked L. His desk was a map of clues, the threat letter promising ruin, the blood-stained glove, the pearl earring, the brass key, Clara's journal, Charles's debt-filled letters to V, the note about a midnight meeting, the cigarette butt, the safe's contents, a will, a locket, and a ruby ring, and now the handkerchief. Each clue was a thread in a tangled web, and Poirot's little gray cells buzzed to untangle it. He adjusted his tie, his black suit pristine, and sipped a steaming tisane. Jenkins' attack, Clara's scream, Sylvia's lies, Charles's debts, the mysterious V, and the figure in the dark all pointed to a secret worth hurting for. The safe's will named Clara as heir to a hidden trust, hinting at money as a motive. The locket and ring suggested a past love. Eleanor, perhaps, betrayed by Lord Hawthorne. The handkerchief's L could be a new player or a red herring. But today, Poirot's mind turned to a new puzzle. The East Wing study, where the safe and scattered papers were found, was locked when Jenkins was attacked nearby. How had the attacker escaped? A locked room mystery was brewing, and Poirot loved. Nothing more than a challenge. He tucked his clues into his pocket and headed downstairs. The manor was hushed, its grand halls heavy with secrets. Guests whispered in corners. Servants moved like shadows. Poirot felt the weight of unseen eyes, as if the manor itself held its breath. In the dining room, breakfast was quiet. Toast, jam, and eggs. Lord Reginald Hawthorne sat at the head, his face tight. Lady Margaret sipped tea, her eyes cold. Clara clung to Sir Edward Vance, her face pale. Charles nursed a coffee, his hands shaky. Beatrice chattered about a new book, her voice too loud. Dr. Lionel Hurst ate slowly, his calm gaze scanning the room. Poirot took a seat, nodding. "Bon matin," he said. "A curious night, no? Shadows in the garden, whispers of secrets." Clara shivered. "That figure I saw, it's terrifying, Monsieur Poirot." Edward patted her hand. "Just a trick of the light, Clara. Nothing to fear." Poirot's eyes flicked to Edward. "A trick, Sir Edward? Or a person with a purpose? The handkerchief I found, marked L, suggests someone real." Lady Margaret's cup clinked. "L? Could be anyone. A servant? A guest?" Poirot smiled thinly. Or a clue, madame. Tell me, the East Wing study, is it always locked? Hawthorne frowned. Yes, when not in use. Only Margaret and I have keys. Poirot's mustache twitched. Yet papers were scattered, an earring left behind. Someone entered. How? Hawthorne paled. I don't know. The lock wasn't broken. Poirot nodded, his mind racing. A locked room, yet someone had been inside. He excused himself and sought Grayson, finding him in the hall polishing a mirror. Grayson, Poirot said, the East Wing study, any other way in besides the door? Grayson hesitated. No, sir. Just the door and a window, but it's bolted from inside. Poirot's eyes gleamed. Bolted, you say? I must see it. Grayson led him to the study. The door was locked, but Grayson opened it with a key. Inside, the room was as Poirot remembered. Papers scattered, the safe closed, the Hawthorne crest letter on the desk. He checked the window. Bolted tight, no sign of tampering. The walls were solid, no hidden panels. Yet someone had entered, left the earring, and scattered papers. How? Poirot examined the lock. It was old but sturdy, no scratches or marks. Grayson, he said, who else has a key to this room? Only Lord and Lady Hawthorne, Grayson replied. And me for cleaning. Poirot nodded. And the night of the gala, you locked it? Yes, sir. Before dinner. Checked it myself. Poirot thanked him and searched the room again. Under the desk, he found a tiny scrap of fabric. Black. Silk torn. It matched the glove from the garden. His heart quickened. The attacker had been here, but how had they escaped a locked room? He left the study and sought Sylvia Rose, finding her in the drawing room, adjusting her hair. Mademoiselle Rose, he said, you were in this study, no? Despite your denials. Sylvia's smile faltered. I told you I wasn't there. That earring could have been anyone's. Poirot held up the fabric scrap. This was in the study. Black silk, like the glove from the garden. Yours? Sylvia's eyes widened. No, I don't wear silk gloves, you're wrong. Poirot let it go, but her quick denial was telling. He found Clara next, in the library, reading her journal. Mademoiselle Clara, he said. This room was locked, when Jenkins was attacked nearby. Yet someone entered. Do you know how? Clara shook her head. No, I never go there. It's Papa's private study. Poirot showed her the locket from the safe. This woman, Eleanor, who is she? Clara's face paled. I don't know. Maybe an old relative? Poirot's eyes narrowed. Or a secret, no? Your journal mentions a family secret. Clara's eyes filled with tears. Please, it's nothing, just silly thoughts. Poirot nodded, but his suspicions grew. He sought Charles, finding him in the garden, smoking a cigar. Monsieur Charles, he said, the note to V, a meeting in the garden. Were you there? Charles snorted. I told you, I don't know any V. You're chasing ghosts. Poirot held up the handkerchief. This L, does it mean anything? Charles' eyes flicked to it, then away. Nope. Could be anyone. Poirot watched him go, unconvinced. Charles' debts, Sylvia's lies, Clara's fear, all pointed to a truth hidden in the locked study. He returned to the East Wing, examining the hall outside the study. The parlor where Jenkins was attacked was nearby, its door open. Poirot stepped inside, picturing the scene. Jenkins with a tray, struck by the candlestick, the attacker fleeing. But to where? The study was locked, the hall empty. He noticed a faint mark on the parlor floor, a scuff, like a shoe dragging. It led to a narrow door half hidden by a curtain. Poirot opened it, revealing a dusty staircase. A servant's passage, perhaps? He followed it, his shoes echoing. The stairs led to the East Wing hall near the study. His heart raced. The attacker could have used this to enter the study, scatter papers, and escape, locking the door behind them. He tested the theory, returning to the study. The passage door was hidden behind a bookcase, barely noticeable. It wasn't locked, just stiff. Poirot pushed it open, stepping into the dark stairwell. It smelled of dust and old wood, At the bottom, he found a single footprint in the dust. Small, like a woman's shoe. Sylvia? Lady Margaret? Or someone else? Back in the study, Poirot wrote in his notebook, "Locked room solved, servant's passage. Footprint, woman's. Silk scrap matches glove. A handkerchief, new suspect?" He added the scrap to his clues. The letter, glove, earring, key, journal, Charles's letters, note to V, cigarette butt, safe's contents, handkerchief, and now the scrap. Dinner was tense, the dining room lit by flickering candles. Guests whispered about the attack, the scream, the figure. Poirot watched. Lady Margaret's tight jaw, Edward's quick glances, Dr. Hurst's calm stare. He approached Hurst after dinner. "Doctor, you know the family well. This L, a name perhaps?" Hurst's eyes flicked to the handkerchief. "Could be Lang, or Lady Margaret, or nobody." Poirot nodded. "And the passage behind the study's bookcase, you knew of it?" Hurst's face stayed blank. "Passage? News to me." Poirot let it go, but Hurst's calm was suspicious. He sought Lord Hawthorne, finding him in his study. "Lord Hawthorne," he said, "this passage in the East Wing, why was it not mentioned?" Hawthorne frowned. "It's old, forgotten. Servants used it years ago." Poirot showed him the locket. "This Eleanor, who is she?" Hawthorne's face paled. "An old friend, long gone," Poirot pressed. "A lover? Her letters speak of betrayal." Hawthorne stood, angry. "That's private, Poirot. Drop it." Poirot bowed and left, but the pieces were falling into place. Eleanor's betrayal, Clara's inheritance, Charles's debts, the locked study, the passage, all tied to the threat. As night fell, he sat in his room, his clues spread out. He wrote, "Passage explains locked room. Eleanor's betrayal. Motive? Ye. Lady Margaret. Lang. Another. Footprint suggests woman. Secrets closing. In." The manor was silent, but Poirot felt the whispers of secrets growing louder. Tomorrow he would confront the family, open the passage, and find L. The locked room was no longer a mystery, but the truth behind it was still hidden. Hercule Poirot would not rest until it was revealed. Chapter 8. A Trail of Red Herrings. The dawn light filtered through the heavy curtains of Blackwood Manor, casting a pale glow over Hercule Poirot's room. He sat at his desk, his notebook open, his pen scratching furiously. The clues before him were a tangled mess. The threat letter promising ruin, the blood-stained glove, the pearl earring, the brass key, Clara's journal, Charles's debt-filled, letters to V, the note about a midnight meeting, the cigarette butt, the safe's contents, a will, a locket, and a ruby ring, the handkerchief marked L, and the black silk scrap from the East Wing study. The servant's passage behind the study's bookcase had solved the locked room mystery, revealing how the attacker escaped after striking Jenkins, but each clue seemed to point in a different direction, like fish swimming away from his net. Poirot's mustache twitched. These were red herrings, distractions meant to hide the truth, and he was determined to see through them. He dressed in a crisp black suit, his tie knotted perfectly, and sipped a steaming tisane. Jenkins' attack, Clara's scream, Sylvia's lies, Charles's debts, the mysterious V, the figure in the dark, and now the L handkerchief all pointed to a secret worth violence. The safe's will named Clara as heir to a hidden trust, suggesting money as a motive. The locket and ring hinted at Eleanor, a betrayed lover of Lord Hawthorne. The servant's passage explained the locked study, but the small footprint, likely a woman's, added a new layer. Was L Lady Margaret, Victor Lang, or someone else? Poirot's little gray cells buzzed, sorting truth from deception. He tucked his clues into his pocket and headed downstairs. The manor was quiet, its grand halls heavy with tension. Guests lingered in the drawing room, whispering about the attack. Servants moved quickly, their eyes down. Poirot felt the air thick with secrets, like a storm ready to burst. In the dining room, breakfast was simple: porridge, toast, and tea. Lord Reginald Hawthorne sat at the head, his face weary. Lady Margaret stirred her tea, her eyes sharp. Clara clung to Sir Edward Vance, her golden curls limp. Charles sipped coffee, his hands unsteady. Beatrice chattered about a new hat, her voice forced. Dr. Lionel Hurst ate slowly, his calm gaze unsettling. Poirot took a seat, nodding. Bon matin, he said. A puzzling day, no? So many clues, yet so many distractions. Clara's eyes widened. Distractions? You mean someone's trying to trick you? Poirot smiled. Oui, mademoiselle. A glove here, an earring. These are red herrings meant to confuse. But Hercule Poirot is not easily fooled. Edward frowned. Red herrings? You're saying someone's hiding something? Poirot's eyes flicked to him. Everyone hides something, Sir Edward. The trick is finding what matters. For example, this L handkerchief, who does it belong to? Lady Margaret's cup clinked. L? Could be anyone. A servant, perhaps. Poirot tilted his head. Or you, madame. Your name begins with L. Her face paled. That's absurd. I don't use handkerchiefs like that. Hawthorne cleared his throat. Poirot, let's not accuse without proof. Poirot bowed. Of course, monsieur. But I must follow every trail, even the false ones. Charles snorted. You're chasing your tail, detective. Good luck. Beatrice giggled. Oh, Charles, don't be mean. Monsieur Poirot's clever. He'll figure it out. Poirot thanked her, but his mind was elsewhere. The handkerchief, the silk scrap, the footprint, all pointed to a woman, but which one? He excused himself and sought Grayson, finding him in the hall polishing a candlestick. Grayson, Poirot said. This handkerchief, marked L. Any ideas? Grayson squinted at it. Could be Lady Margaret's, sir, but she uses lace ones. Maybe a guest's, Lady Evelyn, perhaps? Poirot nodded. And the servant's passage. Any women use it regularly? Grayson hesitated. Mary, the housekeeper, sometimes. The maids too, but not often. Poirot thanked him and headed to the east wing. He wanted to re-examine the passage behind the study's bookcase. The study was unchanged, papers scattered, the safe locked, the Hawthorne crest letter still there. He pushed the bookcase, revealing the narrow door. The dusty staircase smelled of old wood. He descended, his eyes scanning for new clues. At the bottom, near the footprint, he found a tiny button, pearl, like the earring. Sylvia's, or another red herring. He pocketed the button and returned to the study, checking the window again. Still bolted, no marks. The passage was the only way in or out besides the locked door. He examined the scattered papers, finding a new one. A receipt for a jeweler dated last month for a custom ring repair. The ruby ring from the safe? Another distraction? Or a clue? Poirot sought Mary, the housekeeper, finding her in the kitchen with Mrs. Potts. Madame Mary, he said, this button, found in the passage. Yours? Mary shook her head. No, sir, too fancy for me. Maybe a guest's. Poirot showed her the handkerchief. And this? Hello, anyone come to mind? Mary frowned. Could be Lady Margaret, but hers are fancier. Maybe a maid's, lost in cleaning. Poirot thanked her, his suspicions growing. The button, the handkerchief, the footprint, all pointed to a woman, but the trail felt too neat, like a trap. He sought Sylvia Rose next, finding her in the drawing room, laughing with a young lord. Mademoiselle Rose, he said, this button, pearl, like your earring, found in the passage to the study. Sylvia's smile froze. I told you. I wasn't there. That button's not mine. Poirot tilted his head. Yet you were seen in the east wing. Why lie? Sylvia flushed. I was looking for a quiet spot. The gala was loud. Poirot's eyes narrowed. A quiet spot in a locked study? No, mademoiselle. You were searching for something. Sylvia stood angry. I don't have to listen to this. She stormed off, leaving Poirot unconvinced. He found Clara in the garden, sitting by the rose bushes. Mademoiselle Clara, he said, this locket from the safe. Eleanor. You said she's a relative, but your father called her an old friend. Who is she? Clara's eyes filled with tears. I don't know, honestly. Papa never talks about her. Poirot showed her the handkerchief. This L, could it be Eleanor? Clara shook her head. Eleanor's gone, Papa said. That's all I know. Poirot nodded, but her tears were telling. He sought Charles, finding him in the library, a bottle in hand. Monsieur Charles, he said. This note to V. Victor Lang. Oui? Your debts to him? Charles laughed bitterly. Lang, maybe, but you're fishing in the wrong pond. Poirot held up the cigarette butt. This was in the garden. You smoke cigars, not cigarettes. Who does? Charles shrugged. Half the guests. Lang, Drake, even Sylvia. Good luck. Poirot let him go, his mind spinning. The cigarette, the button, the handkerchief, red herrings meant to mislead. He returned to the drawing room where Lord Drake argued with Mr. Lang about money. Lord Drake, Poirot said, you smoke cigarettes, no? Drake nodded, pulling out a silver case. What of it? Poirot showed the butt. This was in the garden where a figure was seen. Yours? Drake frowned. Could be. I was out there getting air. So what? Poirot turned to Lang. And you, monsieur? Cigarettes? Lang's eyes were cold. Yes, but I wasn't in the garden. Poirot nodded, filing their answers away. He approached Lady Evelyn, who sat sipping tea. Madame, this handkerchief, L. Yours? Evelyn glanced at it. No, mine are monogrammed differently. Try Margaret. Poirot thanked her, but her quick deflection was suspicious. He sought Lady Margaret, finding her in the hall. Madame, he said, this L, yours? Her face tightened. I told you I don't use those. Stop accusing me. Poirot bowed. I accuse no one. I seek truth. Dinner was tense, the dining room lit by flickering candles. Guests whispered about the attack, the figure, the clues. Poirot watched, Edward's quick glances, Dr. Hurst's calm stare, Sylvia's nervous laugh. After dinner, he approached Hurst. Doctor, you smoke cigarettes, oui? Hurst nodded. Occasionally. Why? Poirot showed the butt. This was in the garden, yours? Hurst's eyes flicked to it. Could be. I was outside briefly. Poirot's suspicions grew. Hurst's calm was too perfect, like a mask. He returned to his room, spreading his clues. The letter, glove, earring, key, journal, Charles' letters, note to V, cigarette butt, safe's contents, handkerchief, silk scrap, button, receipt. He wrote, passage solves locked room, footprint, button, handkerchief, woman, cigarette, Drake, Lang, Hurst, Sylvia. Look, Lady Margaret, Evelyn or other. Eleanor's betrayal, Clara's will, motive, red herrings everywhere. As midnight neared, Poirot slipped to the garden, hoping to catch V or L. The night was cold, the bushes silent. He waited, hidden by a tree. Footsteps crunched. A figure in a dark coat, face hidden. Poirot stepped forward, but they ran, dropping a small vial. He picked it up, empty, smelling of medicine. Poison, or another red herring. He returned to his room, adding the vial to his clues. The trail of red herrings was long, glove, earring, button, cigarette, handkerchief, vial. But Poirot was closing in. Tomorrow, he would confront the family, search the passage again, and find L. The truth was hidden among the distractions, and Hercule Poirot would not be fooled. Chapter 9. The Butler's Confession. The morning sun struggled through the thick clouds over Blackwood Manor, casting a dim light across the sprawling estate. Hercule Poirot sat at his desk, his notebook a maze of scribbled clues. The threat letter, vowing ruin, the blood-stained glove, the pearl earring, the brass key, Clara's journal, Charles's debt-ridden letters to V, the note about a midnight meeting, the cigarette butt, the safe's contents, a will, a locket, and a ruby ring, the handkerchief marked L, the black silk scrap, the pearl button, the jeweler's receipt, and the empty vial smelling of medicine. The servant's passage had solved the locked room mystery, but the trail of red herrings, glove, earring, button, cigarette, handkerchief, vial, kept the truth just out of reach. Poirot's mustache twitched as he sipped his tisane, his little gray cells sorting through the distractions. Today he would confront the butler, Grayson, whose nervous glances and vague answers hinted at more than he'd let on. Poirot dressed in a spotless black suit, his tie perfectly knotted, and tucked his clues into his pocket. Jenkins' attack, Clara's scream, Sylvia's lies, Charles's debts, the mysterious V and L, and the safe secrets all pointed to a truth buried deep in the manor. The vial from last night's chase in the garden was troubling. Was it poison or another trick? Grayson, who knew every corner of the house, might hold the key. Poirot sensed the butler was hiding something, and a confession could crack the lie. Case wide open. He descended the grand staircase, the manor's halls quiet but tense. Guests lingered in the drawing room, their voices hushed, while servants moved like ghosts, avoiding his gaze. The air was heavy, as if the walls themselves held secrets waiting to spill. In the dining room, breakfast was simple: oatmeal, fruit, and tea. Lord Reginald Hawthorne sat at the head, his face lined with worry. Lady Margaret sipped tea, her eyes sharp. Clara clung to Sir Edward Vance, her face pale. Charles nursed a coffee, his hands trembling. Beatrice chattered about a London play, her voice too bright. Dr. Lionel Hurst ate slowly, his calm gaze unsettling. Poirot took a seat, nodding. Bon matin, he said. A heavy morning, no? So many secrets, so few answers. Clara shivered. Secrets? You're scaring me, Monsieur Poirot. Edward patted her hand. He's just doing his job, Clara. Let him poke around. Poirot's eyes flicked to Edward. Poking, Sir Edward? None. I seek truth. For example, this vial, found in the garden. It smells of medicine. Poison, perhaps. Lady Margaret's cup clinked. Poison? That's ridiculous. Probably a servant's medicine. Poirot tilted his head. Perhaps, madame. But the butler, Grayson, he knows this house. I must speak with him. Hawthorne frowned. Grayson's loyal. Been with us for years. Poirot smiled thinly. Loyalty hides many things, monsieur. I will find out what. Charles snorted. You're wasting time, detective. Grayson's a nobody. Beatrice giggled. Oh, Charles, don't be rude. Monsieur Poirot's clever, he'll figure it out. Poirot excused himself and sought Grayson, finding him in the hall polishing silver candlesticks. Too many, Poirot noted, as if keeping busy to avoid questions. Grayson, he said. A moment, we must talk. Grayson's hands paused, his face tight. Of course, sir, but I'm busy. Poirot held up the vial. This was in the garden where the figure ran. Medicine, poison, you know this house. Tell. Me, Grayson's eyes widened. I don't know, sir. Could be anything. Poirot stepped closer. You know more than you say, Grayson. The passage to the study, the attack on Jenkins, the handkerchief marked L. You see everything. What are you hiding? Grayson's hands shook. I'm not hiding anything, sir. I swear. Poirot's voice softened, but his eyes were sharp. Come, Grayson. A man was attacked. A threat hangs over this house. Tell me what you know, or I will assume you are part of it. Grayson paled, glancing around. Not here, sir. Please. The pantry. Poirot followed him to a small room off the kitchen where shelves held jars and linens. Grayson shut the door, his voice low. I didn't want to say, sir. It's dangerous. Poirot's mustache twitched. Dangerous? Speak, Grayson. Now. Grayson took a deep breath. The night of the gala, I saw something. Before Jenkins was attacked, I saw Lady Margaret in the East Wing Hall, near the study. She was carrying a candlestick, like the one used on Jenkins. Poirot's heart quickened. Lady Margaret, you are sure? Grayson nodded. Yes, sir. I didn't think much of it. She often checks the rooms. But after Jenkins, it seemed odd. Poirot leaned closer. And the handkerchief, L. Hers? Grayson hesitated. I think so. She has ones like it, but I can't be sure. Poirot showed the silk scrap. This was in the study. Her dress, perhaps? Grayson shook his head. No, sir. She wears lace, not silk. But Miss Sylvia Rose had a silk shawl that night. Poirot's eyes gleamed. Sylvia, again. And the vial? You've seen it before? Grayson swallowed. It's like the ones Dr. Hurst uses. He keeps medicines in his bag. Poirot nodded, his mind racing. Lady Margaret with a candlestick, Sylvia's silk, Hurst's vial. Grayson's confession was a gold mine, but was it true or another red herring? One more thing, Poirot said. The passage behind the study's bookcase. Do you use it? Grayson's face paled. Sometimes, sir, for quick cleaning. But I locked the study that night, I swear. Poirot thanked him and left, his thoughts swirling. Grayson's confession pointed to Lady Margaret, Sylvia, and Hurst, but it could be a distraction. He sought Lady Margaret, finding her in the drawing room, reading a letter. Madame, he said, a word. You were seen in the East Wing before Jenkins' attack with a candlestick. Her eyes flashed. Who said that? It's a lie. I was in the ballroom. Poirot held up the handkerchief. This L? Yours? She snatched it, then tossed it back. No, mine are lace. You're grasping at straws. Poirot bowed. Perhaps, Madame, but the truth is close. He found Sylvia next in the garden, picking roses. Mademoiselle Rose, he said, this silk scrap, from your shawl? Sylvia's smile froze. No, I told you I wasn't in the study. Poirot showed the pearl button. And this? Found in the passage, Sylvia flushed. Lots of people have pearl buttons. Stop accusing me. Poirot let her go, her denials ringing false. He sought Dr. Hurst, finding him in the library, reading a medical journal. Doctor, he said, this vial, yours? Hurst's eyes flicked to it. Could be. I carry medicines. What's it to you? Poirot tilted his head. Found in the garden where a figure ran. Poison, perhaps? Hurst laughed softly. Poison. It's likely just a sedative. Check with the apothecary. Poirot nodded, unconvinced. Hurst's calm was a mask, hiding something. He returned to the East Wing, re-examining the passage. The footprint, the button, the silk scrap, all pointed to a woman, but Grayson's confession added Lady Margaret to the mix. He checked the study again, finding a new clue. A torn envelope under the desk addressed to Eleanor with no sender. Another hint of her betrayal? He sought Clara, finding her in her room, staring at her journal. Mademoiselle, he said, this envelope. Eleanor. Who is she to your father? Clara's eyes filled with tears. I don't know. Papa won't talk about her. Poirot showed the locket. Her picture is here. A lover, perhaps? Clara shook her head. Maybe. But it's private. Poirot pressed. And the will in the safe, your inheritance. Who else knows? Clara paled. Just Papa and Mama. Please don't tell anyone. Poirot nodded, but her fear was telling. He sought Charles, finding him in the garden, smoking a cigar. Monsieur Charles, he said, this V. Victor Lang, oui? Your debts are tied to him? Charles laughed bitterly. Maybe, but you're barking up the wrong tree. Poirot held up the cigarette butt. This was in the garden. Not yours, you say? Lang's? Charles shrugged. Could be. He smokes, like a chimney. Dinner was tense, the dining room lit by dim candles. Guests whispered about the attack, the figure, the clues. Poirot watched, Lady Margaret's tight jaw, Sylvia's nervous laugh, Hurst's calm stare. After dinner, he approached Edward. Sir Edward, you were with Clara all night, oui? Yet she saw the figure alone. Where were you? Edward flushed. I stepped out for a smoke, just for a minute. Poirot's eyes narrowed. A minute is enough, monsieur. He returned to his room, spreading his clues. The letter, glove, earring, key, journal, Charles's letters, note to V, cigarette butt, Safe's contents: handkerchief, silk scrap, button, receipt, vial, envelope. He wrote, Grayson's confession, Lady Margaret with candlestick, Sylvia's silk, Hurst's vial. Footprint, button, woman, Eleanor's envelope, betrayal. Clara's will, motive. Red herrings or truth? As midnight neared, Poirot slipped to the passage, hoping to catch someone. The stairs were silent, but a faint light flickered below. He descended, finding a candle stub still warm. Someone had been here. He returned to his room, adding the stub to his clues. Grayson's confession had opened new paths, but the trail was still muddy. Tomorrow he would confront Lady Margaret, check Hurst's bag, and find Eleanor's truth. The butler's words were a step forward, but Hercule Poirot knew the real confession was yet to come. Chapter 10. Shadows of the past. The morning fog wrapped Blackwood Manor in a ghostly shroud, its stone walls barely visible through the mist. Hercule Poirot stood at his window, his sharp eyes tracing the rose garden where shadows had danced and clues had been dropped. His desk was a battlefield of evidence. The threat letter promising ruin, the blood-stained glove, the pearl earring, the brass key, Clara's journal, Charles's debt-filled letters to V, the note about a midnight meeting, the cigarette, with the safe's contents, a will, a locket, and a ruby ring, the handkerchief marked L, the black silk scrap, the pearl button, the jeweler's receipt, the empty vial, the torn envelope to Eleanor, and the warm candle stub from the servant's passage. Grayson's confession had pointed to Lady Margaret, Sylvia Rose, and Dr. Hurst, but Poirot sensed these were pieces of a larger puzzle, rooted in the past. His mustache twitched as he sipped his tisane, his little gray cells chasing shadows of secrets long buried. Poirot dressed in a crisp black suit, his tie knotted with precision, and tucked his clues into his pocket. Jenkins' attack, Clara's scream, Sylvia's lies, Charles's debts, the mysterious V and L, the locked study, and the safe's contents all hinted at a truth tied to Eleanor, the woman in the locket, betrayed by Lord Hawthorne. The servant's passage explained how the attacker escaped, but the vial, the handkerchief, and the candle stub suggested someone was still moving in the dark. Today, Poirot would dig into the past, Eleanor's story, the will, the debts, to find the motive behind the threat. He descended the grand staircase, the manor's halls quiet but heavy with tension. Guests whispered in the drawing room, their eyes nervous. Servants scurried, avoiding his gaze. The air felt thick as if the ghosts of old secrets lingered in the shadows. In the dining room, breakfast was simple: eggs, toast, and tea. Lord Reginald Hawthorne sat at the head, his face drawn. Lady Margaret stirred her tea, her lips tight. Clara clung to Sir Edward Vance, her eyes red. Charles sipped coffee, his hands shaky. Beatrice chattered about a new scarf, her voice forced. Dr. Lionel Hurst ate slowly, his calm gaze scanning the room. Poirot took a seat, nodding. Bon matin, he said. The past casts long shadows, no? Secrets from years ago can stir trouble today. Clara shivered. The past? You mean, like that locket? Edward patted her hand. Don't worry, Clara. It's just old family stuff. Poirot's eyes flicked to Edward. Old stuff, Sir Edward? Or a motive for violence? This Eleanor, her letters speak of betrayal. Who was she? Lady Margaret's cup clinked. Eleanor, a nobody. Long gone. Stop digging, Poirot. Hawthorne cleared his throat. She was a family friend. Nothing more. Poirot smiled thinly. A friend whose letters burn with anger. A friend tied to a locket in your safe. I think she is more, monsieur. Charles snorted. You're chasing ghosts, detective. Focus on the living. Beatrice giggled. Oh, Charles, don't be grumpy. Monsieur Poirot's clever. He'll solve it. Poirot excused himself and sought Grayson, finding him in the hall polishing a mirror. Grayson, he said, this Eleanor, who is she to the Hawthorns? Grayson's hands paused. Before my time, sir. I heard she was close to Lord Hawthorne years ago. Left suddenly. Nobody talks about her. Poirot showed the torn envelope. This was to her, found in the study, Any idea who sent it? Grayson shook his head. No, sir. But old letters turn up sometimes in odd places. Poirot nodded, his suspicions growing. He headed to the library, hoping to find more about Eleanor. The shelves were packed with old books, but one caught his eye. A family history dog-eared. He flipped through it, finding a photo tucked inside. A young woman, smiling, with Lord Hawthorne, both in old-fashioned clothes. The back read, Reginald. And Eleanor, 1895. Poirot's heart quickened. This was her, the woman in the locket. He pocketed the photo and sought Lord Hawthorne, finding him in his study, staring at papers. Monsieur, Poirot said, this photo, Eleanor and you. She was more than a friend, none. Hawthorne's face paled. Where did you get that? Yes, we were close. But it ended long ago. Poirot held up the locket. Her picture is here in your safe. Why? Hawthorne sighed. A memory. Nothing more. She left, married someone else. It's over. Poirot's eyes narrowed. Yet, her letters speak of betrayal. Did you wrong her? Hawthorne stood angry. That's private, Poirot. Leave it alone. Poirot bowed but pressed on. And the will in the safe, Clara's inheritance. Did Eleanor know of it? Hawthorne froze. No. She was gone before Clara was born. Poirot nodded, unconvinced. He sought Clara, finding her in the garden, sitting by the roses. Mademoiselle, he said, this photo, Eleanor. Your father says she was a friend, but your journal mentions a family secret. Is it her? Clara's eyes filled with tears. I don't know much. Papa said she was trouble, that's all. Poirot showed the ruby ring. This was in the safe. Hers? Clara shook her head. I've never seen it. Maybe Mama's? Poirot's mind raced. He sought Lady Margaret, finding her in the drawing room, writing a letter. Madame, he said, this Eleanor, your husband's lover, Her pen snapped. How dare you? Eleanor was a fool who left years ago. Forget her. Poirot held up the handkerchief. This not yours, you say. Eleanor's? Lady. Margaret's face tightened. She's gone. Stop this nonsense. Poirot let it go, but her anger was telling. He sought Sylvia Rose, finding her in the library, reading a play. Mademoiselle, he said, you knew of Eleanor, no? You were in the study, searching for her letters. Sylvia's smile faltered. I told you, I wasn't there, and I don't know any Eleanor. Poirot showed the silk scrap. This matches your shawl. Found in the study. Sylvia flushed. Lots of people wear silk. You're wrong. Poirot's eyes narrowed. He sought Charles, finding him in the garden, smoking a cigar. Monsieur Charles, he said. Eleanor, did she know of your debts to V? Charles laughed bitterly. Eleanor. She's ancient history, and V is my business. Poirot held up the note to V. This meeting in the garden, was it with her? Charles paled. No, she's long gone. Leave me alone. Poirot watched him go, his suspicions deepening. He returned to the east wing, checking the servants' passage again. The footprint, the button, the silk scrap, all pointed to a woman, but Eleanor was gone. Was someone using her name to mislead him? He found a new clue in the passage. A scrap of paper, half-burned, with the word trust. The will? Another red herring. Dinner was tense, the dining room lit by dim candles. Guests whispered about Jenkins, the figure, the secrets. Poirot watched. Lady Margaret's clenched hands, Sylvia's nervous laugh, Hurst's calm stare. After dinner, he approached Dr. Hurst. Doctor, he said, this vial, yours. Was it for Eleanor? Hurst's eyes flicked to it. Eleanor? I didn't know her, and that vial's just a sedative. Poirot nodded. And the past? Any secrets you know of this family? Hurst's face stayed blank. Old families have old wounds, that's all I'll say. Poirot returned to his room, spreading his clues. The letter, glove, earring, key, journal, Charles's letters, note to V, cigarette butt, Safe's contents: handkerchief, silk scrap, button, receipt, vial, envelope, photo, candle stub, burned paper. He wrote, Eleanor, lover, betrayed. Clara's will, motive. Lady Margaret, another, footprint, silk, button, woman. V. Lang, trust paper, new clue, shadows of past hide truth. As midnight neared, Poirot slipped to the passage, hoping to catch someone. The stairs were dark, but a faint creak echoed. He froze, listening. A shadow moved below, then vanished. He descended, finding a dropped pen, silver, engraved with VL. Victor Lang, or another trick? He added the pen to his clues, his mind racing. Eleanor's betrayal, Clara's inheritance, Charles's debts, the passage, the L and V. The shadows of the past were closing in. Tomorrow, he would confront Lang, search Hurst's bag, and uncover Eleanor's truth. The trail was muddy, but Hercule Poirot would follow it to the light. Chapter 11. The missing heirloom. The morning mist hung low over Blackwood Manor, wrapping the estate in a chilly gray veil. Hercule Poirot stood at his window, his sharp eyes scanning the rose garden where shadows had slipped away and clues had been dropped. His desk was cluttered with evidence: the threat letter vowing ruin, the blood-stained glove, the pearl earring, the brass key, Clara's journal, Charles's debt-filled letters to V, the note about a midnight meeting, the cigarette butt, the safe's contents, a will, a locket, and a ruby ring, the handkerchief marked L, the black silk scrap, the pearl button, the jeweler's receipt, the empty vial, the torn envelope to Eleanor, the warm candle stub, the half-burned paper with trust, and the silver pen engraved with VL. Each clue was a piece of a puzzle, but the shadows of the past, Eleanor's betrayal, Clara's inheritance, Charles's debts, kept the truth just out of reach. Poirot's mustache twitched as he sipped his tisane, his little gray cells buzzing. Today he would chase a new lead. The ruby ring from the safe, a possible heirloom, was missing from its velvet pouch this morning. Its absence was no accident, it was a clue, and Poirot would follow it. He dressed in a crisp black suit, his tie knotted perfectly, and tucked his clues into his pocket. Jenkins' attack, Clara's scream, Sylvia's lies, Charles's debts, the mysterious V and L, the servant's passage, and now the missing ring all pointed to a secret worth stealing for. Grayson's confession had implicated Lady Margaret, Sylvia, and Dr. Hurst, but the silver pen with VL suggested Victor Lang, the banker, might be V. The ring's disappearance could tie to Eleanor's betrayal or Clara's inheritance. Poirot sensed a family heirloom held the key to the motive, and he would uncover it today. He descended the grand staircase, the manor's halls quiet but heavy with tension. Guests whispered in the drawing room, their eyes nervous. Servants moved quickly, avoiding his gaze. The air was thick, as if the manor's secrets were pressing against the walls. In the dining room, breakfast was simple: porridge, toast, and tea. Lord Reginald Hawthorne sat at the head, his face pale. Lady Margaret sipped tea, her hands tight. Clara clung to Sir Edward Vance, her eyes red. Charles nursed a coffee, his face grim. Beatrice chattered about a new necklace, her voice forced. Dr. Lionel Hurst ate slowly, his calm gaze unsettling. Poirot took a seat, nodding. Bon matin, he said. A troubling morning, no? Something precious is missing. Clara's eyes widened. Missing? What do you mean? Poirot's gaze swept the table. A ruby ring from the safe. An heirloom, perhaps? It was there. Yesterday, gone today. Lady Margaret's cup clinked. Gone? That's impossible. The safe's locked. Hawthorne frowned. Poirot, are you sure? That ring's been in the family for generations. Poirot nodded. Certain, monsieur. Someone took it. Who knew of the safe's contents? Charles snorted. You're barking up the wrong tree, detective. Nobody'd steal from Reginald. Beatrice gasped. A thief? Here? Oh, how exciting. Edward patted Clara's hand. Don't worry, Clara. It's probably misplaced. Poirot's eyes narrowed. Misplaced, Sir Edward? No. Stolen. And I will find it. After breakfast, Poirot sought Lord Hawthorne in his study. "Monsieur," he said, "this ring, why is it so precious?" Hawthorne sighed, rubbing his temples. "It's a family heirloom, passed down for centuries. Said to be cursed, actually. Brings luck to the wearer, ruin to those who lose it." Poirot's mustache twitched. "Cursed? And who knew it was in the safe?" Hawthorne hesitated. "Just Margaret and me, and Clara, I suppose. I told her once." Poirot nodded, filing it away. He showed the silver pen. "This VL, Victor Lang, oui?" Hawthorne frowned. "Could be. He's a guest, a banker." "Why?" Poirot's eyes gleamed. "A hunch, monsieur. And Eleanor, did she know of the ring?" Hawthorne paled. "Eleanor? No. She left before it was put in the safe." Poirot bowed and left, unconvinced. He sought Clara, finding her in the library, staring at her journal. "Mademoiselle," he said, "the ruby ring. Your father says you knew of it. Is it tied to your inheritance?" Clara's eyes filled with tears. Yes, Papa mentioned it, but I never saw it." Poirot showed the locket. "This Eleanor. Did she want the ring?" Clara shook her head. "I don't know her. Papa said she was trouble." Poirot pressed. "And the will in the safe, your trust, who else knows?" Clara paled. "Nobody. Just Papa and Mama." Poirot nodded, her fear telling. He sought Lady Margaret, finding her in the drawing room, writing a letter. "Madame," he said, "the ring is gone. You knew of the safe. Did you take it?" Her eyes flashed. "How dare you? I didn't touch it." Poirot held up the handkerchief. "This, L, yours? Found where the figure ran." She tossed it back. "I told you, mine are lace. Stop this nonsense." Poirot let it go, her anger suspicious. He sought Sylvia Rose, finding her in the garden, picking flowers. "Mademoiselle," he said, "the ring is missing. You were in the study, non? Searching for it?" Sylvia's smile froze. "I wasn't there, and I don't care about some ring." Poirot showed the silk scrap. "This matches your shawl, found in the study." Sylvia flushed. "Lots of people wear silk. Leave me alone." Poirot's eyes narrowed. He sought Charles, finding him in the garden, smoking a cigar. "Monsieur Charles," he said, "the ring. Did you take it to pay debts to V?" Charles laughed bitterly. "A ring? I'd sell my soul first. Ask Lang." Poirot held up the silver pen. "This VL, Victor Lang, your creditor?" Charles paled. "Maybe, but I didn't steal anything." Poirot watched him go, his suspicions deepening. He sought Victor Lang, finding him in the drawing room checking his watch. "Monsieur Lang," he said, "this pen, yours?" Lang's eyes flicked to it. "Yes, lost it days ago." "Where'd you find it?" Poirot smiled. "In the garden where a figure ran. And the ring. Did you know of it?" Lang's face stayed cold. "No, I deal in money, not jewelry." Poirot nodded, unconvinced. He returned to the east wing, checking. The servants' passage. The footprint, the button, the silk scrap, all pointed to a woman, but the ring's theft suggested a broader motive. He re-examined the study, finding a new clue. A tiny scratch on the safe's dial, fresh. Someone had tried to force it open before it was unlocked. He sought Grayson, finding him in the pantry. "Grayson," he said, "the safe was tampered with." "You saw nothing?" Grayson's hands shook. "No, sir, I swear, I locked the study that night." Poirot showed the vial. "This, Dr. Hurst's? Poison?" Grayson paled. "I don't know. He keeps medicines, but I never saw that." Poirot pressed. "And the ring, you knew of it?" Grayson nodded. "Heard it was valuable, but I never saw it." Poirot thanked him and sought Dr. Hurst, finding him in the library, reading. "Docteur," he said, "this vial, yours, and the ring, did you know of it?" Hurst's eyes flicked to the vial. "A sedative, as I said. The ring? No." Poirot nodded. And Eleanor, did you know her? Hurst's face stayed blank. Heard of her. Old story, nothing more. Dinner was tense, the dining room lit by dim candles. Guests whispered about the theft, the attack, the figure. Poirot watched. Lady Margaret's tight jaw, Sylvia's nervous laugh, Lang's cold stare. After dinner, he approached Edward. Sir Edward, you were away when Clara saw the figure. Did you see the ring? Edward flushed. No, I was smoking, I told you. Poirot's eyes narrowed. A convenient absence, monsieur. He returned to his room, spreading his clues. The letter, glove, earring, key, journal, Charles's letters, note to V, cigarette butt, safe's contents, minus the ring, handkerchief, silk scrap, button, receipt, vial, envelope, photo, candle stub, burned paper, pen, scratch on safe. He wrote, ring stolen, heirloom cursed, safe tampered, VL, Lang, L, Lady Margaret, Eleanor's betrayal, motive, footprint, silk, woman, trust paper, Clara's inheritance, heirloom, key to truth. As midnight neared, Poirot slipped to the study, hoping to catch the thief. The passage was dark, but a faint rustle echoed. He froze, listening. A shadow moved, then vanished. He found a dropped glove, lace unlike the silk one marked M. Lady Margaret? He added it to his clues, his mind racing. The missing heirloom was no red herring. It was the heart of the mystery. Tomorrow he would confront Lang, search the passage again, and uncover Eleanor's role. The shadows were clearing, and Hercule Poirot was close to the truth. Chapter 12. A Game of Motives. The gray dawn crept over Blackwood Manor, its light barely piercing the heavy fog that clung to the gardens. Hercule Poirot sat at his desk, his notebook a battlefield of clues. The threat letter promising ruin, the blood-stained glove, the pearl earring, the brass key, Clara's journal, Charles's debt-filled letters to V, the note about a midnight meeting, the cigarette butt, the safe's contents, a will and a locket but no ruby ring, the handkerchief marked L, the black silk scrap, the pearl button, the jeweler's receipt, the empty vial, the torn envelope to Eleanor, the warm candle stub, the half-burned paper with trust, the silver pen engraved VL, the scratch on the safe, and the lace glove marked M. Each clue was a move in a game of motives, money, love, revenge, or power, and Poirot's little gray cells were piecing together who was playing. His mustache twitched as he sipped his tisane, his sharp eyes fixed on the truth just beyond reach. Poirot dressed in a crisp black suit, his tie knotted with precision, and tucked his clues into his pocket. Jenkins' attack, Clara's scream, Sylvia's lies, Charles's debts, the mysterious V and L, the servant's passage, Eleanor's betrayal, Clara's inheritance, and now the missing ruby ring all pointed to a motive buried in the manor's shadows. Grayson's confession had implicated Lady Margaret, Sylvia, and Dr. Hurst, while the VL pen suggested Victor Lang. The lace glove marked M hinted at Lady Margaret, but was it another red herring? Today, Poirot would play the game, testing each suspect's motive to find the one behind the threat. He descended the grand staircase, the manor's hall silent but heavy with tension. Guests whispered in the drawing room, their eyes darting. Servants moved quickly, avoiding his gaze. The air was thick, as if the manor's secrets were holding their breath. In the dining room, breakfast was simple: bread, eggs, and tea. Lord. Reginald Hawthorne sat at the head, his face weary. Lady Margaret stirred her tea, her lips tight. Clara clung to Sir Edward Vance, her eyes red. Charles sipped coffee, his hands unsteady. Beatrice chattered about a new book, her voice forced. Dr. Lionel Hurst ate slowly, his calm gaze unsettling. Victor Lang sat at the far end, checking his watch. Poirot took a seat, nodding. Bon matin, he said. A game of motives unfolds. No? Money, love, revenge, who plays what? Clara's eyes widened. Motives? You think someone here wants to hurt us? Edward patted her hand. Don't worry, Clara. He's just stirring things up. Poirot's eyes flicked to Edward. Stirring, Sir Edward? None, I seek truth. The ruby ring is gone, an heirloom cursed, your father says. Who wanted it? Hawthorne frowned. Nobody'd steal it, it's just a ring. Lady Margaret's cup clinked. A cursed ring, superstition, nothing more. Charles snorted. Cursed? Rubbish. You're chasing shadows, detective. Beatrice giggled. Oh, a cursed ring, like a storybook. Poirot smiled thinly. Stories hide truth, mademoiselle. For example, this lace glove, marked M. Yours, Lady Margaret? Her face paled. I told you my gloves are different. That's not mine. Poirot held up the silver pen. And this VL, Monsieur Lang, perhaps. Lang's eyes narrowed. My pen, yes, lost it days ago. What's your point? Poirot leaned forward. My point, monsieur, is motive. Debts, love, secrets. Someone struck Jenkins, stole the ring, sent a threat. Why? Lang's voice was cold. I deal in money, not violence. Poirot nodded, unconvinced. He excused himself and sought Grayson, finding him in the hall polishing a vase. Grayson, he said, this lace glove, Lady Margaret's? Grayson hesitated. Could be, sir. She has similar ones, but I'm not sure. Poirot showed the vial. And this? Dr. Hurst's? Poison or medicine? Grayson's hands shook. I don't know, sir. He keeps medicines, but I never saw that one. Poirot pressed. And the ring? You said it's valuable. Who else knew? Grayson swallowed. The family, maybe. And I heard Miss Sylvia talking about it once. Poirot's eyes gleamed. He headed to the east wing, checking the servants' passage again. The footprint, the silk scrap, the pearl button, all pointed to a woman, but the lace glove suggested Lady Margaret. He re-examined the study, finding a new clue, a tiny keyhole in the desk hidden under a panel. The brass key didn't fit, but it suggested another lock. Perhaps for the ring. He sought Sylvia Rose, finding her in the drawing room, laughing, with a guest. Mademoiselle, he said, you knew of the ruby ring, oui? You were in the study searching for it. Sylvia's smile froze. I told you I wasn't there, and I don't care about a ring. Poirot showed the silk scrap. This matches your shawl, found in the study. Sylvia flushed. Lots of people wear silk. Stop accusing me. Poirot's eyes narrowed. He sought Clara, finding her in the garden, sitting by the roses. Mademoiselle, he said, the ring, your father says it's cursed. Did you want it? Clara's eyes filled with tears. No, I don't care about it. It's just trouble. Poirot showed the locket. And Eleanor, her betrayal. Is it tied to the ring? Clara shook her head. I don't know her. Papa won't talk about her. Poirot pressed. And the will, your inheritance. Could someone want it? Clara paled. I don't know. Please stop. Poirot nodded, her fear telling. He sought Charles, finding him in the library, a bottle in hand. Monsieur Charles, he said, the ring. Did you take it to pay V? Charles laughed bitterly. I'd rather sell my shoes. Ask Lang. Poirot held up the pen. This VL, his? Your creditor? Charles paled. Maybe, but I didn't steal anything. Poirot sought Victor Lang, finding him in the drawing room reading a newspaper. Monsieur Lang, he said, this pen, yours, found in the garden. And the ring. Did you take it? Lang's eyes were cold. I told you I don't care about jewelry, and I lost that pen. Poirot nodded. And Charles's debts to you, do they involve the ring? Lang stood. My business with Charles is private. Leave it. Poirot let him go, his suspicions deepening. He sought Dr. Hurst, finding him in the library, checking his medical bag. Doctor, he said, this vial, yours? And the ring. Did you know of it? Hurst's eyes flicked to the vial. A sedative, as I said. The ring? No. Poirot pressed. And Eleanor, her past with the family. What do you know? Hurst's face stayed blank. Old gossip, nothing more. Dinner was tense, the dining room lit by flickering candles. Guests whispered about the theft, the attack, the figure. Poirot watched. Lady Margaret's clenched hands, Sylvia's nervous laugh, Lang's cold stare. After dinner, he approached. Edward. Sir Edward, you were absent when Clara saw the figure. Did you see the ring? Edward flushed. No, I was smoking. I told you. Poirot's eyes narrowed. A convenient absence, monsieur. He returned to the study, trying the brass key in the desk's hidden keyhole. It didn't fit, but a smaller key, perhaps for a box, was needed. He searched the passage again, finding a new clue. A hairpin, gold, near the footprint. Lady Margaret's? Sylvia's? He added it to his clues. The letter, glove, earring, key, journal, Charles's letters, note to V, cigarette butt, safe's contents, handkerchief, silk scrap, button, receipt, vial, envelope, photo, candle stub, burned paper, pen scratch, lace glove, hairpin. As midnight neared, Poirot slipped to the garden, hoping to catch someone. The fog was thick, the roses barely visible. A faint rustle came from the bushes. He froze, listening. A figure moved, then vanished. He found a dropped note. Meet me, study, 1 a.m. No signature. Poirot's heart raced. He returned to his room, adding the note to his clues. He wrote, ring gone, heirloom, motive, VL, Lang, M, Lady Margaret, Eleanor's betrayal, love, revenge, footprint, silk, hairpin, woman, trust, will, money. Game of motives tightens. At 1 a.m., he crept to the study, hiding behind the bookcase. Footsteps echoed in the passage. A figure entered, hooded, silent. They tried the safe, then fled when Poirot stepped out. He found a dropped cufflink, silver, monogrammed E. Edward? Another red herring? He added the cufflink to his clues, his mind racing. The game of motives, money for Charles, love for Eleanor, power for Lang, revenge for Lady Margaret, was closing in. Tomorrow, he would confront Edward, search the desk, and find the ring. The truth was near, and Hercule Poirot would play the game to win. Chapter 13. The Cryptic Note. The morning fog draped Blackwood Manor in a heavy gray cloak, muting the rose garden's colors and casting eerie shadows across the stone walls. Hercule Poirot sat at his desk, his notebook a chaotic map of clues. The threat letter vowing ruin, the blood-stained glove, the pearl earring, the brass key, Clara's journal, Charles's debt-filled letters to V, the note about a midnight meeting, the cigarette butt, the safe's contents, a will and a locket but no ruby ring, the handkerchief marked L, the black silk scrap, the pearl button, the jeweler's receipt, the empty vial, the torn envelope to Eleanor, the warm candle stub, the half-burned paper with trust, the silver pen engraved VL, the scratch on the safe, the lace glove marked M, the gold hairpin, and the silver cufflink monogrammed E. Last night's chase in the study had yielded a new clue, a cryptic note reading, "Meet me, study 1 a.m., dropped by a hooded figure. Poirot's mustache twitched as he sipped his tisane, his little gray cells buzzing. The note was a key, but to what door? Truth or another trap? He dressed in a crisp black suit, his tie knotted with precision, and tucked his clues into his pocket. Jenkins' attack, Clara's scream, Sylvia's lies, Charles's debts, the mysterious V and L, the servant's passage, Eleanor's betrayal, Clara's inheritance, the missing ruby ring, and now the cryptic note all pointed to a motive, money, love, revenge, or power. The lace glove suggested Lady Margaret, the VL pen pointed to Victor Lang, the cufflink to Edward, and the hairpin to a woman, perhaps Sylvia. The note hinted at a secret meeting, but its purpose was unclear. Today, Poirot would chase its meaning, confront Edward, and search for the ring, determined to cut through the manor's web of secrets. He descended the grand staircase, the manor's hall silent but thick with tension. Guests whispered in the drawing room, their eyes nervous. Servants scurried, avoiding his gaze. The air felt heavy as if the manor's secrets were pressing against the walls, ready to burst. In the dining room, breakfast was simple: oatmeal, toast, and tea. Lord Reginald Hawthorne sat at the head, his face drawn with worry. Lady Margaret stirred her tea, her lips tight. Clara clung to Sir Edward Vance, her eyes red from sleepless nights. Charles sipped coffee, his hands shaky. Beatrice chattered about a new scarf, her voice forced to fill the silence. Dr. Lionel Hurst ate slowly, his calm gaze unsettling. Victor Lang sat at the far end, checking his watch with a frown. Poirot took a seat, nodding. Bon matin, he said. A curious night, no? A note dropped in the dark speaks of secrets. Clara's eyes widened. A note? What does it say? Poirot held up the cryptic note. Meet me study 1 a.m. Found where a figure fled. Who was it for? Lady Margaret's cup clinked sharply. A note? Probably a servant's nonsense. Hawthorne frowned. Poirot, you're stirring trouble. What's this about? Poirot's eyes flicked to Edward. Sir Edward, you were absent when Clara saw the figure. This cufflink, monogrammed E. Yours? Edward flushed, touching his sleeve. I lost one like it, but I wasn't in the study. Poirot tilted his head. Yet you smoke, you wander, you vanish at key moments. Why? Edward's jaw tightened. I told you I was smoking. Stop accusing me. Charles snorted. He's got you pegged, Vance. Shifty, if you ask me. Beatrice giggled. Oh, Charles, don't be mean. Monsieur Poirot's just doing his job. Poirot smiled thinly. And my job is to find the truth. The ruby ring is gone, the note points to a meeting, and motives swirl. Money, love, revenge, who plays this game? Lang's voice was cold. Not me, Poirot. I deal in facts, not games. Poirot nodded, unconvinced. He excused himself and sought Grayson, finding him in the hall polishing a candlestick. Grayson, he said, this note, meet me study 1 a.m. Seen it before? Grayson's hands paused, his face pale. No, sir, but it's odd. The study's private. Poirot showed the cufflink. This E, Sir Edward's, and the ring, any news? Grayson shook his head. Could be his, sir. The ring. I heard it's cursed, worth a fortune. Poirot's eyes gleamed. Cursed, oui. And who might want it? Grayson hesitated. The family, maybe. Or someone like Lang. He's always talking money. Poirot thanked him and headed to the east wing, determined to search the study again. The room was unchanged. Papers scattered, the safe locked, the servant's passage, hidden behind the bookcase. He examined the desk's hidden keyhole, but the brass key still didn't fit. The cryptic note suggested a planned meeting, perhaps to steal the ring. He searched the passage, finding a new clue. A torn ticket stub for a train to London, dated yesterday. Someone planning to flee? He pocketed the stub and sought Edward, finding him in the garden smoking a cigarette. Sir Edward, he said, this cufflink, yours found in the study. And this note, were you meeting someone? Edward's face reddened. I told you I wasn't there. That cufflink's not mine. Poirot showed the ticket stub. Planning? A trip, monsieur. Edward paled. That's not mine. I'm staying for Clara. Poirot's eyes narrowed. Yet you wander, you smoke, you lose things. Curious. He sought Sylvia Rose, finding her in the drawing room, adjusting her hair. Mademoiselle, he said, this note. Were you meeting someone in the study? Sylvia's smile froze. Me? No, I was asleep at 1 a.m. Poirot showed the silk scrap. This was in the study, like your shawl and the ring. Did you take it? Sylvia flushed. I told you I wasn't there. Stop it. Poirot let her go, her denials ringing false. He sought Clara, finding her in the library staring at her journal. Mademoiselle, he said, this note, did you write it? For Edward, perhaps? Clara's eyes filled with tears. No, I'd never go to the study at night. Poirot showed the locket. Eleanor, her betrayal. Is it tied to the ring? Clara shook her head. I don't know her, Papa won't say. Poirot pressed. And the will. Your inheritance. Could someone want it? Clara paled. I don't know. Please stop. Poirot nodded. Her fear, telling. He sought Lady Margaret, finding her in the drawing room, writing a letter. Madame, he said, this lace glove marked M, yours, and the note, your meeting. Her eyes flashed. I told you my gloves are different and I don't sneak around at night. Poirot showed the hairpin. This was in the passage. Yours? She tossed it back. No. Try Sylvia. Poirot's suspicions grew. He sought Charles, finding him in the garden smoking a cigar. Monsieur Charles, he said, this note to V, perhaps? Your creditor? Charles laughed bitterly. You're obsessed with V. I didn't write that note. Poirot held up the pen. This VL, Victor Lang, oui? Tied to your debts? Charles paled. Maybe, but I didn't steal anything. Poirot sought Victor Lang, finding him in the drawing room, reading a newspaper. Monsieur Lang, he said, this pen, yours, and the note, were you meeting someone? Lang's eyes were cold. I told you I lost that pen and I don't do secret meetings. Poirot nodded. And the ring, did it interest you? Lang stood. I deal in money, not trinkets. Leave me alone. Poirot sought Dr. Hurst, finding him in the library, checking his medical bag. Doctor, he said, this vial, yours and the note. Were you meeting someone? Hurst's eyes flicked to the vial. A sedative, as I said. The note? No. Poirot pressed. And Eleanor? Her past. Did she want the ring? Hurst's face stayed blank. I didn't know her. Old gossip. Dinner was tense, the dining room lit by dim candles. Guests whispered about the note, the ring, the attack. Poirot watched. Lady Margaret's clenched hands, Sylvia's nervous laugh, Lang's cold stare, Edward's quick glances. After dinner, he approached Grayson again. Grayson, he said, this ticket stub, found in the passage. Anyone leaving? Soon? Grayson hesitated. Not that I know, sir, but Mr. Lang's been talking about London. Poirot's heart quickened. He slipped to the study at midnight, hoping to catch someone. The passage was dark, but a faint creak echoed. He hid behind the bookcase, listening. Footsteps approached, then stopped. A shadow moved, dropping a small key. Silver, not brass. Poirot grabbed it, but the figure fled. He tried the key in the desk's hidden keyhole. It fit, revealing a locked drawer. Inside was a letter. Reginald, the ring is mine. You stole it. E. Poirot's mind raced. Eleanor's claim on the ring, motive for theft? He added the key and letter to his clues. The threat letter, glove, earring, brass key, journal, Charles letters, note to V, cigarette butt, safe's contents, handkerchief, silk scrap, button, receipt, vial, envelope, photo, candle stub, burned paper, pen, scratch, lace glove, hairpin, cufflink, ticket stub, cryptic note, silver key, new letter. He wrote, cryptic note, meeting for ring, Eleanor's letter, claims ring, VL, Lang, M, Lady Margaret, E, Edward, footprint, silk, hairpin, woman, will, trust, money, motives, revenge, love, greed. The cryptic note was a beacon, but the game was far from over. Tomorrow he would confront Lang, open the safe again and chase Eleanor's truth. Hercule Poirot was close, and the truth would not escape him. Chapter 14. The unexpected ally. The morning sun struggled through the dense fog enveloping Blackwood Manor, casting a faint glow over the rose garden where shadows had fled and clues had been scattered. Hercule Poirot sat at his desk, his notebook a labyrinth of evidence. The threat letter vowing ruin, the blood-stained glove, the pearl earring, the brass key, Clara's journal, Charles's debt-filled letters to V, the note about a midnight meeting, the cigarette butt, the safe's contents, a will and a locket but no ruby ring, the handkerchief marked L, the black silk scrap, the pearl button, the jeweler's receipt, the empty vial, the torn envelope to Eleanor, the warm candle stub, the half-burned paper with trust, the silver pen engraved VL, the scratch on the safe, the lace glove marked M, the gold hairpin, the silver cufflink monogrammed E, the train ticket stub, the cryptic note for a 1 a.m. study meeting, the silver key and the letter claiming the ring for Eleanor. Each clue was a thread in a tangled web, and Poirot's little gray cells buzzed chasing the truth. His mustache twitched as he sipped his tisane, pondering the cryptic note and the hooded figure from last night. Today, an unexpected ally would emerge, shifting the game. Poirot dressed in a crisp black suit, his tie knotted with precision, and tucked his clues into his pocket. Jenkins' attack, Clara's scream, Sylvia's lies, Charles's debts, the mysterious V and L, the servant's passage, Eleanor's betrayal, Clara's inheritance, the missing ruby ring, and the new letter all pointed to a motive: money, love, revenge, or power. The lace glove suggested Lady Margaret, the VL. Pen pointed to Victor Lang, the cufflink to Edward, the hairpin to a woman, perhaps Sylvia, and the letter to Eleanor's claim on the ring. The cryptic note hinted at a secret meeting, possibly to steal or hide the ring. Poirot would confront Lang, re-examine the safe, and seek Eleanor's truth, but first he needed an ally, someone in the manor with insight and honesty. He descended the grand staircase, the manor's halls silent but heavy with tension. Guests whispered in the drawing room, their eyes nervous. Servants scurried, avoiding his gaze. The air was thick, as if the manor's secrets were pressing against the walls, ready to crack. In the dining room, breakfast was simple: bread, eggs, and tea. Lord Reginald Hawthorne sat at the head, his face etched with worry. Lady Margaret stirred her tea, her lips tight. Clara clung to Sir Edward Vance, her eyes red. Charles sipped coffee, his hands unsteady. Beatrice chattered about a new hat, her voice forced. Dr. Lionel Hurst ate slowly, his calm gaze unsettling. Victor Lang sat at the far end, checking his watch. Poirot took a seat, nodding. Bon matin, he said. The game tightens, no? A note calls for a secret meeting, a ring vanishes, and motives swirl. But today I seek an ally. Clara's eyes widened. An ally? Who, Monsieur Poirot? Poirot smiled thinly. Someone honest, mademoiselle, someone who sees the truth. Lady Margaret's cup clinked. Honest? Good luck finding that here. Hawthorne frowned. Poirot, what's this about? Another clue? Poirot held up the silver key. This opened a drawer, revealing a letter. Eleanor claims the ring. Who knows her story? Charles snorted. Eleanor? Ancient history. You're chasing ghosts. Beatrice giggled. Oh, a secret letter. Like a mystery novel. Edward patted Clara's hand. Don't worry, Clara. He's just stirring things up. Poirot's eyes flicked to Edward. Stirring, Sir Edward? Non, I seek clarity. This cufflink, E. Yours. Found where the figure fled. Edward flushed. I told you. It's not mine. I was asleep. Poirot nodded, unconvinced. He excused himself and sought Grayson, finding him in the hall polishing a candlestick. Grayson, he said, this letter. Eleanor's claim on the ring. What do you know? Grayson's hands paused, his face pale. Eleanor? I heard she was close to Lord Hawthorne long ago. Left in a scandal. Poirot showed the cryptic note. This meeting, who might it involve? Grayson shook his head. I don't know, sir. But Miss Beatrice was asking about the study yesterday. Poirot's eyebrows rose. Beatrice? The chattering cousin, always giggling, seemed an unlikely suspect, but her curiosity was intriguing. Could she be his ally? He thanked Grayson and headed to the drawing room where Beatrice sat, flipping through a magazine. Mademoiselle Beatrice, he said, bowing slightly. You asked about the study. Why? Beatrice's eyes widened. Then she laughed. Oh, Monsieur Poirot, I was just curious. It's such a mysterious room, all locked up. Poirot tilted his head. Curious, oui? Or searching for something, like the ruby ring? Beatrice's giggle faltered. The ring? No, I just like old houses. But I did see something odd. Poirot leaned closer, his voice soft. Tell me, mademoiselle, what did you see? Beatrice glanced around, lowering her voice. Last night before dinner, I saw Dr. Hurst near the east wing carrying a small box. He looked sneaky. Poirot's heart quickened. A box? Describe it. Beatrice frowned, thinking. Small, wooden, with a lock. He tucked it under his coat when he saw me. Poirot's eyes gleamed. Merci, mademoiselle. You have helped more than you know. Beatrice blushed. Really? Oh, I feel like a detective. Poirot smiled, sensing truth in her words. Beatrice, with her gossip and sharp eyes, was an unexpected ally, honest, observant, and overlooked by others. He would use her help to watch Hurst and uncover the box's secrets. He sought Dr. Hurst, finding him in the library, checking his medical bag. Docteur, he said, a small wooden box. Yours? Seen in the east wing. Hurst's eyes flicked, up his face calm. A box? No. You're mistaken. Poirot showed the vial. This was in the garden. Yours, oui? And the ring. Did you take it? Hurst's voice stayed even. The vial's a sedative, as I said. The ring? I don't care for jewelry. Poirot nodded, unconvinced. Hurst's calm was a mask hiding something. He sought Victor Lang, finding him in the drawing room, reading a newspaper. Monsieur Lang, he said, this pen, VL. Yours, found where a figure ran. And the note, were you meeting someone? Lang's eyes were cold. I told you I lost that pen, and I don't do secret meetings, Poirot pressed. And Charles's debts to you, did they involve the ring? Lang stood. My business is private. Leave it. Poirot let him go, his suspicions deepening. He sought Sylvia Rose, finding her in the garden, picking roses. Mademoiselle, he said, this hairpin, yours? Found in the passage. And the note, your meeting? Sylvia's smile froze. No, I don't use hairpins like that, and I wasn't in the study. Poirot showed the silk scrap. This matches your shawl. You were there. Sylvia flushed. Lots of people wear silk. Stop it. Poirot's eyes narrowed. He sought Clara, finding her in the library, staring at her journal. Mademoiselle, he said, this letter, Eleanor's claim on the ring. Did she know of your inheritance? Clara's eyes filled with tears. I don't know her. Papa won't talk about her. Poirot showed the locket. Her picture is here. A motive, perhaps? Clara shook her head. Maybe. I don't know. Poirot pressed. And Edward, his cufflink was in the study. Is he hiding something? Clara paled. No. Edward loves me. He wouldn't. Poirot nodded, her fear telling. He sought Edward, finding him in the garden, smoking. Sir Edward, he said, this cufflink, yours, and the note, were you meeting someone? Edward's face reddened. I told you it's not mine. I was asleep. Poirot showed the ticket stub. Planning to leave, monsieur? Edward paled. That's not mine. I'm staying. Poirot's suspicions grew. He sought Lady Margaret, finding her in the drawing room, writing a letter. Madame, he said, this lace glove, M. Yours? And the note, your meeting? Her eyes flashed. I told you my gloves are different and I don't sneak around. Poirot showed the hairpin. This was in the passage. Yours? She tossed it back. No. Try Sylvia. Poirot let her go, her anger suspicious. He sought Charles, finding him in the garden, smoking a cigar. Monsieur Charles, he said, this note to V, perhaps, your creditor? Charles laughed bitterly. You're obsessed. I didn't write it. Poirot held up the pen. This V. Lang, oui? Tied to your debts? Charles paled. Maybe, but I didn't steal anything. Dinner was tense, the dining room lit by dim candles. Guests whispered about the note, the ring, the attack. Poirot watched. Lady Margaret's clenched hands, Sylvia's nervous laugh, Lang's cold stare, Edward's quick glances, Hurst's calm gaze. After dinner, he approached Beatrice. "Mademoiselle," he said, "watch Dr. Hurst. If he carries that box again, tell me." Beatrice's eyes sparkled. "Like a spy? I'm in." Poirot smiled, trusting her enthusiasm. He slipped to the study, trying the silver key in the safe. Useless. He re-examined the passage, finding a new clue, a scrap of cloth, red velvet like the ring's pouch. Had it been hidden here? He added it to his clues. The threat letter, glove, earring, brass key, journal, Charles's letters, note to V, cigarette butt, safe's contents, handkerchief, silk scrap, button, receipt, vial, envelope, photo, candle stub, burned paper, pen, scratch, lace glove, hairpin, cufflink, ticket stub, cryptic note, silver key, Eleanor's letter, red velvet, scrap. As midnight neared, Poirot hid in the passage, hoping to catch someone. Footsteps echoed, soft but sure. A figure appeared, Beatrice, her eyes wide. "Monsieur Poirot," she whispered. Hurst went to his room with the box. Poirot's heart raced. "Merci, mademoiselle. You are a true ally." He crept to Hurst's room, knocking softly. No answer. He tried the door. Locked. A faint rustle came from inside. Poirot slipped back to his room, adding Beatrice's report to his notes. Beatrice, ally, saw Hurst with box, red velvet, ring's pouch, VL, Lang, Lady Margaret, E, Edward, footprint, silk, hairpin, woman, Eleanor's, claim, revenge, motives, money, love, power, Hurst key. The unexpected ally had shifted the game. Tomorrow he would confront Hurst, search his room, and chase the ring. The truth was close, and Hercule Poirot, with Beatrice's help, would seize it.